Yeah, all set, thank you.
Okay. Stand by. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 6, 2026 Select Board regular meeting. And we also have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. I will start off with my script. This is Select Board Chair Josh Levine. I will be confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Zwerko.
Here.
Benithe Mavathi.
Here.
Andrew Lamb.
Here.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lynn Simmons.
Here.
Mike Barbieri. Not here. Peggy Sheldon.
Here.
This open meeting of the Long Meadow Select Board is convened in person and via Zoom webinar as posted on the agenda and town's website, identifying how the public may join. There's no chat or Q&A function. All of the materials for this meeting are available on the agenda posted on longmeadowma.gov. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. This meeting will feature resident comment. For residents attending the meeting in person, please raise your hand when we get to the comment section of the meeting, and I will call on you to approach the microphone. For residents participating in the meeting via Zoom webinar format, please use the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. The meeting moderator will promote you to panelist, unmute you, and give you permission to speak. If you join the webinar by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute, unmute. Residents who wish to speak will identify their names and addresses only. Each individual is afforded 3 minutes for comments. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. If anyone in attendance is recording this meeting, please announce yourself now. Seeing none. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, would you like to open the Finance Committee meeting?
I'd like to open the Finance Committee meeting. Erica White, Chair. If the members could just say their name into the thing. Present.
Dustin McConnell.
Maury Garrett.
Martin Boyle.
Kara Stevens.
Tim Mitchell.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, I'll start with Select Board announcements. Long Meadow Earth Day Cleanup. The Earth Day Cleanup event sponsored by the Energy and Sustainability Committee and Recycling Commission will be held on Saturday, April 18th from 10 to 2. For additional information and to sign up to volunteer, please visit longmeadowma.gov/Earth Day. Free paper shredding event. A free paper shredding event will be held on Saturday, April 25th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Long Meadow High School parking lot. More information on the event can be found at longmeadowma.gov. Town Meeting Warrant Info Session. A warrant info session for the May 12th Annual Town Meeting will be held on Monday, April 27th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Long Meadow Adult Center Multipurpose Room. This event will be organized as a drop-in style information session where residents and voters can stop at various tables around the room to discuss and ask questions about specific warrant articles. The April 27th Select Board meeting will be canceled and the next regular scheduled meeting will be held on Monday, May 4th, 2026. All right, moving on to resident comments. Anyone would like to speak?
I'm Shay, 81 Green Meadow Drive. 4 quick items. Citizens were never told that property taxes would subsidize municipal fiber. You should check Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 17. Bans can be renewed in part up to 5 years from the date of original issuance. To borrow for the full allowed maturity afterward, amortization of bans must start at the beginning of year 3 and then be turned out to the statutory debt limit. You did not model principal payments in the third and subsequent years prior to the 20-year refinancing in both 2030 and 2032. You likely need to change your model. What is a monthly fee to Fiber Spring? It should be separate line item. Why isn't disclosed? Why are we reneging on the $491,000 being paid back to the general fund upon the first issuance of fiber? 4 of you voted for it in November 2024. The general fund sure needs that money for capital expenditures, as you know. Modeling in debt, in less than 90 days, you had 3 different borrowing amounts, material differences between the bond amounts and allocations, 1 and maybe 2 illegal debt proposals, then introduction of property tax increase. All are cause for concern. January 5th, 30 million, 20-year maturity, 30-year amortization. I told you the debt structure was not allowed under a well-known Mass General law on debt maturities. That blew up the model, and you guys confirmed it on March 23rd. March 23rd, 27 million, no model publicly available to support the warrant article. April 6th, we're here today, 8.6 million to borrow and partially paid by property taxes. Property tax subsidy, 1.4 million of interest on the 8.6 million, 1.2 million to adjust the model to comply with the Mass General law I just quoted. 2.6 million adjusted property tax subsidy paid by every household, even if not hooked up for 3 to 5 years or even subscribed. Note the shortfall in the projections that does not cover debt service on the general obligation bonds will be covered statutorily by increased property taxes. Financial engineering, interest-only bans for 4 years on 2 refundings, pushing principal out too far in technology investments. I expect the town now has fully modeled Fiber Springs information, verified all costs. As an example, how much cushion is in the estimate and capital costs, and how are you ensuring 27 million of capital equipment for 10,000? That's comparable to 4 cars. Likely S&P downgrade. S&P already says Long Meadow has too much debt compared to its similarly rated peers. Adding 26 million of speculative standalone debt will invariably lead to a downgrade. In conclusion, I'm very concerned that you should be with radically different models, debt amounts, and illegal funding proposals that were all made in the last 90 days. The property tax subsidy of fiber was never planned or disclosed.
Your time's up. Finish your thought.
Thank you.
Good evening. Alex Mitreski, 68 Ellington Street. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for taking this initiative. I think it's important to look for alternatives for citizens to figure out ways to have alternative method to internet services. I think competition drives prices down, so I really appreciate the effort that the select board and some of you have taken. I think also the way that you've structured this with 8.6 million being sort of interest only initially, I think it's a very clever and a very sort of an easier way to impact town residents. I think looking at the model that you've posted on the document, there's really 3 main assumptions. You have a 40% adoption rate, you have $90 of the cost, and then your borrowing rate of 40% or 4%. I guess my biggest concern is what happens if Comcast keeps prices low and offers $50, $60 internet fees, and then we don't have that adoption rate. I think that's the biggest risk. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of these assumptions that I did. I looked at the material posted and shows that 40% adoption comes in only at 2031. So I think it'll be helpful to explain the timeline when the fiber will be available to folks. Another concern is what if Starlink or another provider who doesn't need cable becomes a lot more affordable, and now we're stuck with $26 million worth of a project that is obsolete. I'm looking at sort of the documents. This looks like it's going to be not paid off until 2051, so it's going to be part of the debt service of town. So I do want to hit this point on the debt service. I think the select board has a policy that debt service should be around 12%. I think with the middle school, we're at 16% right now, and so with this added on, we'll probably be over 16 to maybe 17 or 18%. So that sort of violates the select board policy. My concern is also if things don't work out as well with the provider and folks sort of switch back to Comcast. I'm just going through my notes here. I know I have 30 more seconds. I wanted to offer 2 alternatives to this. One is whether we allow a private company to try to install fiber as a way so that we don't burden tax residents. Let's see if that way we can have this alternative. Second one is to maybe have residents sign up for this service in advance. That would be a very easy referendum whether the service is needed, and easier to get to the subscription. I do want to kind of, some of the modeling that I did, if we do get to 40% take rate, but 5% borrowing rate, that adds 1.4 million to the project. But if we get 30%, yeah, if we get 30% subscription and 5% borrowing rate, that adds 5 million to the project. So I think those two are very highly sensitive points. Maybe just a couple of questions. We need to finalize the total cost, the installation cost. I saw manager compensation of $50,000. Maybe that needs to be clarified. Who's going to manage this? And then if the Excel file that's been posted, if that can be, the document, if it can be posted for residents to play around with the assumptions, would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in person?
Good evening. My name is Mike Kirby, 81 Lawnwood Avenue. I will try and be brief. Of course, you make it brief anyway with only 3 minutes, but in any case, I'm here tonight because I have a lot of unanswered questions about what's been going on with the attempt for the this new broadband proposal and the expenses related to it. I'm asking that the board reconsider this. I know some of the considerations here, and it's probably too late. The horse may be already out of the barn, but I think Article 7 should be withdrawn from this coming town meeting, simply because there is no hard information in regards to what the tax levy is going to be on the individual homeowners in this town. We're already taking a serious hit with the new middle school project, and to add an additional multi-million-dollar project onto our tax bills, being forced to pay this is, it's unwarranted at this particular time. There are other communities that have been dealing with this same issue over the years. I bring your attention to, granted it's a different state, different community, Chesterfield, New Hampshire, which issued a 20-year bond of $1.8 million with, and Consolidated Communications, is a public-private partnership. Consolidated Communications guaranteed that bond, as well as investing an additional $2.5 million for their broadband connectivity. This occurred approximately 8 years ago. Again, they were thinking out of the box on this. There was no commitment to the taxpayers in regards to this. There's other information available on the web if you want to look into Chesterfield, New Hampshire. To our neighbors to the north in Coleraine, they issued a town bond for $2.4 million and then also received a $1.3 million broadband, Massachusetts Broadband Institute grant. There's been no information that I have seen that the town has tried to look for any other kinds of funding for this on the outside. So this is public-private partnerships that have instituted broadband in other communities. And I just think that this is something that, although you folks have put a lot of work into it, it's too expensive for us at this particular point in time. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in person? Do we have anybody online?
Oh, hands up.
Okay. Moving on to kudos and plaudits. We have none today, which is fine with the packed agenda. I'm sure somebody out there did something good, but we'll catch it at the next meeting. Any select board comments before we move on to our joint meeting? Go ahead, Vinny.
Thank you all for coming by and making comments. Mr. Matreski, I think you asked a lot of good questions, and if it's all right, I'll send you an email tomorrow and just respond to some of that. And then, Mr. Kirby, you asked about the tax levy estimate. I think Ian's actually put that together, and so that's something that we'll be sharing, publicly. So that'll be coming, out publicly about how much the tax levy will be each year through this borrowing. The New Hampshire example, we're familiar with some of these other states, and if we were New Hampshire, I would not be proposing this project. There's a lot of differences between New Hampshire and Massachusetts and the amount of control that certain utilities have in Massachusetts that make this type of partnership, a public-public partnership, much better option here as opposed to in other states. So I think there's some very key differences between the New Hampshire example and here. And then in terms of grants, we have looked through grant funding opportunities, talked to MBI, but unfortunately, because of the connectivity that we have through Comcast, as well as the average median household income, we just unfortunately we weren't eligible for those grants. But we did look at them exhaustively. Obviously, that would be a game changer, and that was something that we really looked into. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay. Anybody else? And I would just say in general, I know maybe more people watching because of this issue is something a lot of people in town are talking about, which is great. And we got some emails today asking the select board to not move forward with the project. This is not a select board project. This is, the town is voting on it. It's a town project. So I know that probably the folks here may understand that. I suspect many do. But I just want to clarify that this is, for better or worse, this is our town government. Everyone can vote. Everyone who's a registered voter can go vote on this. It's great to hear questions. I appreciate the dialogue when people ask good questions. Sometimes it makes us look at something differently. But at the end of the day, it's not us voting. It's on everyone. And that's why people want to change the charter. They can, but for now, everyone votes. So I know that a lot of people know that, but I just want to make sure that we get that out there. Okay, anybody else? No? Great. All right, moving on to the joint meeting with the Finance Committee, which we've already opened. So let us move on to the draft warrant. Lynn?
Sure, so we need to start at Article 1.
Yep.
Just go right through. We can do this two different ways, I guess. You can deal with all the financial ones first if you'd like, or just go through one by one.
I think a lot of the early non-financial ones should go pretty quickly. Are you okay if we just go straight through?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
We can just yell hold if we need to stop. We're all good at that. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Article 1, standing one that we have every year, the William Goldthwait Fund appointment of the 3 members. Just keep going? Or do you want to vote now on them?
Oh, yes, right. Do we have a motion to accept Article 1 onto the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, 2 is our first financial one here. This is a transfer from free cash into the DPW snow and ice account. Everyone is aware that we had more snow and ice than we've had in several years. The town budgets the minimum amount of $125 annually. This is also a fairly standard article to transfer funds in at the end of the winter season. The DPW needs an additional $450,000 to have that line balance.
So I have a question on this. We don't have Sean here. My wife told me before we left that it may snow tonight, believe it or not, less than an inch. Is that, how much would it cost the town if that's what we needed, if we needed to do some sort of clearing tonight?
I don't have that dollar amount, but I do know that they have enough of a cushion built into this. It's not that rare for us to get some precipitation in April, and they did take that into account.
Okay, great. So the number that Sean gave us at the last meeting, he said 450 was pretty good.
Yes.
That included that.
Yep.
Okay, that's great.
And he is here virtually if we need him.
Oh, okay. Anything from finance on this?
Any questions?
No.
Who's moving?
I will move to accept Article 2.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
is Article 2? I know.
You'll do that later in the
No, no,
agenda.
the warrant.
You have to close it
Yeah,
tonight.
is it saying accept, okay? Like,
Or, oh, you
is
know,
that
it's
okay?
move onto the warrant. I think we said the wrong term, right?
Yeah,
We
I
move it
think-
onto the warrant.
We know what you mean, but yeah.
Yeah, okay,
We only do a
okay,
switch
it doesn't
here,
matter,
so
yeah,
it shouldn't-
yeah.
And if I'm understanding this, finance is going to recess and vote on your, okay, great. Okay, Article 3 is to transfer funds from free cash to the Revolution 250 Task Force to cover expenses related to their 250th anniversary planning events. The amount is $12,000.
Andrew, do you have anything else on this?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for our town to celebrate some local events and things related to our 250th anniversary. A little update, we were thinking about putting an event on July 4th, but actually we're going to move it to mid-June because we thought that the attendance would be better with the school year, around the end of the school year, but a lot of things we put into a time capsule will be school-related and contributed by school students, so we thought that would be better. And then we'll also be in the fall planting of a Liberty tree as well. So those are the two main events that we're considering. We thought that this article was a modest amount of money for something that would really bring the community together, so I hope we'll get a lot of support for it.
And are the schools aware that they have an opportunity to contribute to the?
So actually, we're not going to, it all depends on getting this article passed.
Oh.
So we haven't really done too much to promote it until we get this, but everything is being lined up. I know that Mary Beth Bergeron is kind of spearheading the time capsule part of it, and she has the list of possible contributions that we can request from the community. It's an extensive list, so it should be a really great time if we can do this.
Okay. Great. Anything from finance on the $12,000?
All right, I will move to accept Article 3.
Second.
Any further? All those in favor?
Okay, Article 4 is also a transfer from free cash into the operating budget of the DPW to two different lines. One is for DPW fence repairs and another is for playground inspection and maintenance. These are both items that should be in the general operating budget for DPW. We've just not been able to have that happen and balance the budget.
And for Finance Committee, these amounts were, we cut these down a bit to have a small OPEB contribution, right?
Correct,
So you needed more than that
yes.
for
Yes.
these? And you're giving it to OPED instead?
We're giving a small amount to OPEB.
Okay, but to do these two repairs, you actually need more than $20,000?
I think there would be a lot of money that could go towards this.
Okay. So why not put the OPEB money against it?
Well.
Because we
Yeah,
thought that
oh, yeah.
contributing to OPEB was a valuable and worthwhile thing as well, basically.
We have discussed your philosophy, which I certainly appreciate, but we are trying to also honor our commitments to OPEB with a token amount. I would love to give more. I'd love to have more for both, but that's why we're doing it. And we looked at a number of places to take some money to use for OPEB, and thought that this was a good spot for it.
And I only speak for myself on this because others on the Finance Committee might not agree with this, but I do know that we just spent a huge amount of money redoing the playgrounds, and to a large degree because we hadn't been able to maintain them when we had them in play. So I'm going to suggest, if we think we're shorting ourselves on maintenance, putting money into OPEB is not helping us long-term. So that's just my comment on that one.
The truth is, $50,000 in OPEB is such a small drop. If we actually stuck with the select board policy, which we violated time and again, it would be like $650,000, to be honest. There's an inordinate amount of money that could be beneficial to put into fences or any number of things for capital. The capital plan that we were hoping for, we had to cut to balance the budget as well. So $50,000 for OPEB is a very token amount that redistributing $5,000 or $10,000 to other things that are other articles in here, it's frankly not going to make that much of an impact on those particular items, because those items, even if we put those $5,000 or $10,000 back into them, it's still going to be less than would be ideal, to be frank. So we felt that you know, it's important to make a gesture. I mean, the opposite could be argued, that we're just so negligent in our funding of OPEB. We thought that this was a small gesture that would be worth making.
Other comments from the finance committee, and we're so negligent in our financing of deferred maintenance. I think far greater than our funding of OPEB. So yes, it's a drop in the bucket. So, but my question is, if $50,000 of playground maintenance keeps the playground alive and well for another 2 years longer than it would have been, I would suggest playgrounds are really expensive, we discovered recently. You guys remember that funding? It was not cheap.
No, I don't, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, but the playgrounds have a shelf life anyway. I don't think it was necessarily that we weren't maintaining them. I know at least, well, and we also had ADA issues. But have we found that deferred maintenance has been an issue with the playgrounds?
The 3 new ones, no, obviously. The biggest issue is annual inspection. There's a certified playground inspector that is actually a title of a position that's not a position, but a certificate that someone holds. And we need to have someone inspect them annually, and we have not been doing that.
Just to be clear, it wasn't $50,000 taken out of the fences or $50,000 out of one thing. It was like Lynn had suggestions, and I think she took 5 or 10 out of various things so that nothing was ever shorted completely. And the other thing I might add about OPEB that I feel is very valuable is we've had an incredible investment return on OPEB. Like, we have a $10 million in OPEB, but our cost basis there, we only put in like $5 million. So it's been growing, and that's to our benefit, and it's the benefit of our future liability, and if we ever needed that money, we could draw from it. So even $50,000 is a drop in the bucket. I think it says in the Warren article, the unfunded liability is $20 million. So it's all about how we, obviously all the points are valid, and I think that it's all about how we decide to, you know, distribute our scarce resources, essentially.
Question.
Go
Has the select board ever failed to fund OPEB in any dollar amount on any warrant cycle?
Yes.
No, I think I don't think we've ever put in nothing. Is that
Right,
what
that's
you
my
said?
my question is, has
Last
there
meeting?
ever been nothing?
Oh, at annual? I thought, we've always had it come in at special with free cash.
We've attempted to put something in the budget. It has not met the policy goal, and then we've supplemented additionally at fall town meeting.
Oh, it's a supplement, so it's
Yeah.
never been zero.
In terms of zero, I'd have to look back over the last, however long you've had it. I don't know off the top of my head.
My second question is, when was the last time we got audited? Not an involuntary audit. The last time we had an audit done of our OPEB, of the sufficiency of our OPEB funding. I remember it being done, but I don't remember how long ago that was.
So, Maury, to that question, we are required to have an audit done for our OPEB every 2 years. The last one was done this year.
And my understanding is that our audits have come back satisfactory.
That's correct.
That's it.
Maury, your first, two great questions, but as to your first one, I don't want to be the first select board that said zero. It's a bad, that would set a bad precedent, I think. And we are really, as Andrew said, we are really doing the minimum here under the circumstances.
There was one more question, I'm sorry, that you reminded me of, thank you. Is our failure to fund OPEB a factor in our bond rating? Or not our failure to, because we never failed to. Is OPEB funding a factor in the bond rating for borrowing?
I would say yes. Any attempt by the town or municipality to put aside funds towards long-term obligations is obviously seen favorably by our credit agencies, as well as putting money towards reserves. Both reflect positively in our credit rating.
Thank you, that's it.
All right, and then I just have one more question for Ian, and that at the rate of our current giving to OPEB, how many years will it be before it's fully funded?
At our last financial audited, our previously funded financial statements, we were at about 29% funded. In terms of an actuarial amount, I can't give you that information. That I'm not sure, I'd have to look.
But you'd say probably longer than 10 years?
Yes, I would say longer than 10
15 years?
years. I would say at least that, yes.
So we are putting money away that we may be able to spend 20 years from now, maybe not. So it just is with real needs now versus this, we're paying for the medical one way or the other out of operating budget, real needs now versus money someday our ancestors may be able to take out. That's what we're doing right now.
I'd certainly, you're not wrong, and I can't argue with you. I just can't, again, I can't imagine us being the first to say, forget it, we'll just set it aside. I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, really, that's why it's a really small amount, and maybe it could go get us somewhere on some other projects, but we felt pretty strongly about this, and that's why we pulled this out. But I do appreciate the thoughts.
I'll move we approve Article 5 for the warrant.
Second.
Anything further on this? All those in favor?
So that was 4.
Article 4, right?
I'm sorry,
That's
Article
the
4.
playground
Article
and
4.
fence.
Oh.
Okay. Now we're on 5, which is OPEB.
I'll move we approve Article 5 for the warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
Okay, 6 is regarding the accelerated repair project at Center Elementary School. This is for the roof. Language was vetted by MSBA and Bond Council and Town Council. And this is the next step in the required phases for the accelerated repair project.
Anything on this?
All right, I will move to approve Article 6.
Second.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Okay, Article 7, don't think you guys know much about this one. Hasn't been talked about. This is the funding for a borrowing authorization for the fiber project. Amount has changed several times. We're at the 8.6 million. You all received cash flow and borrowing schedule. It was also attached to the agenda. Ian and I can answer any questions that you have. The 8.615 million gets us through phase 1 and part of phase 2.
Well, why don't we want to move forward to the spreadsheet now? The memo? The memo spreadsheet?
Yeah, we should discuss it.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
So Ian, want to jump to that, please?
Josh, do you want me to go through the full memo as written?
I don't know, do you have a PowerPoint or presentation, or, all right, why don't you go through and explain it as
Sure.
best you can?
So, the select board asked for additional review by the town for information regarding the financial municipal project. I've created 2 spreadsheets to highlight the project. One of the spreadsheets shows how the money will come in and go out, and the other spreadsheet shows the borrowing timeline for the project. As Lynn alluded to, part of the project will be covered through the general fund. This is Article 7. This will cover phase 1 and 50% of phase 2. The other borrowing will be strictly through the enterprise fund, the MOP that's been established by the select board. This will be in phases 2 through 5. Both of these borrowings will take place in the form of bands. So they will be short-term borrowings in the general fund. This will be a short-term borrowing for 2 years, where we will make interest-only payments on the bonds. And then upon year 3, we will roll these into a general obligation bond. For the MLP, as for phase 2 and phases 3 through 5, we will initiate short-term borrowings in the form of bands, where we make interest-only payments on the first 2 years, and then make principal payments up until the project is complete, when these bands will be rolled into a general obligation bond. On the borrowing schedule, the green table represents the 4 different bands that are rolled into the ultimate bond. This bond is net of principal payments made on the bands during the time frame. The borrowing schedule does not show interest payments made on the bands. This is just in an effort to save space. Looking at the other schedule is our cash flow model, which looks specifically at the enterprise fund. It is important to note that this does not show any impact on the general fund, nor is any general fund debt service captured in this cash flow. This is strictly for the enterprise fund itself. So if there are questions about why the debt service is not showing correctly, it's because this is the enterprise fund cash flow only. So looking at the cash flow statements, this model's from fiscal year 2027 through fiscal year 2051, with the customer revenues ramping up through 2034 when the project is expected to be complete. The network costs are estimates provided by Fiber Springs as to what the cost will be for the ISP to maintain the services, which would give us our net MLP revenue on a year-to-year basis. Again, the assumptions used in this model represent a 40% take rate. The borrowings assume a 4% interest cost. I just looked today at our comparison rate models, as every month Erica Brunello, our treasurer, provides the town comparison yields for other communities, what they borrow. As we are a AA+, I use the 4%, which is conservative in nature. We are seeing anything from 3 to 3.5% for borrowings of similar sizes. So it is something to consider that if the town were to go forward with this, we could see much more favorable interest rates than this model projects. Below includes the expenses related to this project, including the biggest piece, which is our debt service, manager compensation, equipment, software licenses, marketing, insurance, accounting and auditing, and our replacement fund. This replacement fund represents 3% of the customer revenues that are generated on an annual basis over the life of the project. This all totals the MLP surplus and deficit. Based on the model presented, the initial year 2027 would require an additional general fund subsidy of about $79,000. After that, there is 2 years where the MLP is projected to have a deficit. The goal would be to use the retained earnings built by the fund in order to offset those deficit years without requiring a general fund subsidy. And what I mean by a general fund subsidy is this would require an additional tax levy on the town in the form of either an article or use of free cash. So just to highlight the main things of what this is and why this is different than what Fiber Springs has presented in the past. Fiber Springs model looked at a long-term borrowing right away. This involves the town paying both principal and interest immediately, which means that the project would be paid back faster. However, the cash flow would not be as favorable, as there would be no associated revenues paying for these borrowings. The only option with that would be in the form of property taxes being charged to the residents in the form of the debt exclusion that is being voted on. The town's approach uses a short-term borrowing during the construction, which allows interest only for the first couple years, then switching to a long-term borrowing as the project is complete, with the goal being to minimize the tax impact felt by residents in the form of only one borrowing as a debt excluded vote, and the residual borrowings for the enterprise fund would be funded through the finance charges assessed to the residents.
Thank you, Ian. Appreciate you working on that. Open it up to questions.
Yeah, I guess my first question, Ian, is about your depreciation rate. The actual model they had sent out uses 3% of the capital expenditure, not of the funds submitted, which is significantly higher and makes more sense in terms of replacement cost. So where we're showing about $80,000 a year, they're showing closer to $1 million when it's fully implemented. Being a town with a lot of deferred maintenance, I feel like they're saying that's a 33-year run rate on the equipment, which to me seems way too long for a technology spend anyways. So I would say that your depreciation costs are significantly lower than they should be if we want to have a maintainable, sustainable system going forward. That would be my first comment on that model.
Sure.
So that was one comment about that model, and it would change it dramatically to put in their estimates. I am, again, really uncomfortable with anything technology related that we are pushing out as long as we are. In my lifetime, I have received internet probably 7 different ways already. And maybe fiber is the end all be all of all things in the future, quite possible, but I'm going to suggest it's quite also possible that there's something totally different in 10 years that makes it obsolete. And then we will have been doing this. And I feel like if we as a town really are serious about wanting to do this, we should do it with a much shorter depth service than what we're doing, because that is the more likely payback range of what it needs to be. So as we look to this, what I've been trying to figure out is, are we bringing fiber to Long Meadow because we think it's a tremendously better service that people really want and are willing to pay a little bit extra over Comcast to get it, or are we bringing it because we want it to be cheaper than Comcast? Because if we're setting it out to try to be cheaper than Comcast, then I am really worried that we're just selling it cheap, gathering a lot of debt, and then just really hoping that this is the end-all be-all thing we is for the next 20 to 30 years. So I just, as we look at this, I am not against this, but I want us to be realistic about what it's truly gonna cost the town and cost individuals, and minimize the risk that we as a town are going to be taking on as part of this, right? So if it truly, we only think people will come in if we're cheap, then we're already screwed in that model, because Comcast can undercut us easy, right? So if it's that much better, how do we get people to agree it's better enough that I'm willing to pay 25% more to cover the debt faster to get that stuff, and model around that instead? So that's my take on it at this moment. I don't think we have done the work we need to do to protect the town and bring people the service that they're asking for in the way that it is sustainable and supportable by the town going forward. So other people from the Finance Committee had a chance to look at it and think about it?
Yeah, well, I think that there's probably folks on the select board that want to respond to the stuff you said
Okay.
before we start bombarding with more questions.
Let us all turn to you.
Well, I mean, I don't think that, no, I appreciate these, obviously, the comments. I think that the intention wasn't to provide a service that was cheaper than Comcast. It was to provide a service that offered better value. And, I think that what we've seen in all the communities around us that have all gone to town-owned fiber is extraordinary satisfaction rates with the type of service that they receive, with the customer service that they receive, with the technical support that they receive, and with the transparent pricing, and knowing that this is infrastructure that the town owns, that their money stays in their town. What we've also seen is that, and just to kind of just add on to that, there's a lot of, I think, pride in that as well. And then in terms of, the longevity of this, I think this is something that select board members asked when FiberSpring came, and something that, we looked into as well, that there are, obviously limits to how much more, how much faster, how much more reliable technologies like 5G, which is like a, reliant on kind of outdated radio frequency technology, or even, satellite technology like Starlink. There are upper limits to those technologies where, with fiber, you're talking about something that is going to be connected into your home, providing a signal, and the way that you upgrade it is by improving or just by upgrading what's connected to each side of that cable. And so it's much easier to upgrade moving forward, and it will just be able to provide a more reliable, faster service than anything really on the horizon. And I think that's why we've seen so many communities around us make this investment, and we've seen how popular these investments have been there. And so that's what I would say about that.
Sure, and I've walked into schools that invested heavily in smart boards because it was all the wave, and they're like sitting there with stuff hung on now. So I'm not disagreeing that it may be the thing forever, but I'm also saying if you look at technology, it's a big bet. And it's like, would you buy a car with a 30-year loan, with a 20-year loan? This is what we're talking about technology-wise. And if the value is the thing that they're for and they like all that stuff, then why are we not looking at rates and saying, this is the rate we would need to charge to make this financially stable? Why are we starting with a $90 as opposed to saying, no, we do want to pay it off in 7 to 10 years, and this is what it would cost to do that. So I haven't seen that analysis where we actually say, what is the true cost if we were going to do that? We've just made this super long-term assumption, and there seems to be kind of a general fear that if we think about it too much, people won't adopt it, and then the whole thing kind of falls apart. That's just the sense I've gotten. So I feel like we should spend more time really modeling different models of, let's pay it off in 7 years, let's pay it off in 10 years, let's pay it off in 15 years. What are the rates? What are people willing to do? Actually ask people what they'd be willing to pay for it. And then we would have a much better financial model built.
Vineeth, if I could.
Yeah.
So just so that I can kind of focus us a little bit, the only ask right now is the warrant article to fund phase 1 and half of phase 2, which would not, the customer rates don't have any impact on that. That is a debt exclusion that would be borne by the taxpayers. So when you're talking about rates and adjusting that to pay it off sooner, that's the MLP that would need to have that conversation for phases 2.5 through 5. So it's a different group of people, essentially, and it's a different conversation.
Well, I disagree with that. We're doing this in the intention of moving forward with the full project. No one's saying we're going to borrow $8 million and then stop. Or I would like to know that if we are saying that. But I think we're saying that this is a thing that's going to be the whole. This is a piece we need to provide it, but we need to really look at the entire model itself to understand whether that first investment is worthwhile. I do not hold that as a separate thing you wouldn't look at.
If the question is about doing a shorter term borrowing, then for the purpose of this article, the only option that the town has, if they do not want to have it as part of the general fund budget, is a 20-year borrowing through debt excluded property taxes. That is the only option that the town has. Outside of that, when we're looking at the future project in the form of funding it through the enterprise fund, that is where we can look at different financing options if the board or the MLP so chooses. But in this instance, the only option that the town has would be a 20-year borrowing through property taxes.
And a bit of that is because we are in the unfortunate position of not having a real utility. When South Hadley was in front of us giving their presentation, everything came back to, well, we just borrowed against our electric plant. All right, well, great, we can't do that. And so it does limit our options on what we're able to do out of the gate. And so the approach that they modeled was very different than the approach that we would want to model, which is doing everything we can to limit the impact on taxpayers, which is, like as Lynn was saying, really what we have the ability to do. And I agree, yeah, we can't look at it completely siloed this off, but this is it is a different question of how this is going to go long-term, because if there is, depending on the take rate, there may be very favorable scenarios on that borrowing that may be able to be paid back quicker just by having a higher take rate. But again, none of us can predict the future, so.
Okay, so let me just state it a different way. You're asking the town of Long Meadow to invest in a business, or the residents of Long Meadow to invest in a business, without giving them any sense of how you intend to run that business. Other than some general, we put a 90, we put a 40 in there, we think the debt replacement. So they don't really know what you're going to do, because you haven't told them. So I'm just saying that these are the things I saw, which is right now we are doing a 20-year bond. We're assuming we're going to play that out. That is the most expensive way to borrow for this, by the way, because it has the longer-term interest rates on it. And we are setting a rate of 90 based on, I don't know what, because usually when you are marketing something, you kind of decide what your costs are and you set a rate based on that, but I haven't seen it. So you're asking the town of Long Meadow to invest in a business, and I haven't seen that business give me anything that I feel comfortable investing in yet, is how I would feel about it.
Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning.
So I have a couple questions. The first was, we talked about staying focused on the topic of the Warren article, which is the initial borrowing, the $8 million, give or take. My understanding is that initial borrowing, the $8 million figure, is significantly higher than what was initially presented, which was in the $1 million some odd dollar range. And I am wondering, my question is, what accounts for, if that is correct, what accounts for that difference? And if that is related to what, Josh, you mentioned, which was like South Hadley, for example, having the utility that they could borrow against. Is that what's accounting for the difference? So number one, is this difference that I'm talking about correct? Number two, what is the cause? If so, what is the cause?
Yeah, so I guess that first number, so that the first range that was offered was a range of like 1.5 to 4.5, and that was dependent on take rate. And so that was based on a model where the $27 million was all borrowed by the town, and the enterprise fund, the MLP, was making payments to the town against that debt, to help with that debt service. And so it was saying basically like the enterprise fund would be able to make this amount in payments, so that the town would be, would have either a 1.5 or 4.5 million dollar, liability left afterwards. What Ian has offered is different in that what Ian is saying is, let's do and then also, and just to clarify with that was based off of the 30-year amortization. When we looked at it as a 20-year, that range was actually somewhere between, I think it was like 4.5 to 8.7 million. So that's where Ian kind of got the 8.6 million number, because that's kind of the 40% take rate. That's what would have happened if we had borrowed that way instead. But I think what Ian came up with actually just makes this much easier and clearer to understand. It's to just say the town is going to build out the first pilot area, half of phase 2, as kind of like seed money, like startup costs, right? And then that will give the enterprise fund time to connect, or be able to offer fiber to 1,600 homes, 30 businesses. You start generating revenue, and then that revenue would then fund the rest of the build out. And so that's what accounts for the difference there.
So, talking about those, that 1,600 initial, funding the rest of the build-out. And you referenced the take rate. The take rate meaning what percentage of potential subscribers, for lack of a better word, are going to, in all of Long Meadow, are going to actually subscribe to this service. So my understanding is the range, you mentioned a 1.5 to 4 million range versus the 3 million to 8 million range. My understanding is the difference between those, from what you're saying, is that in the one case, it was 30 years. That was shortened to 20 years. That accounts for the jump in the borrowing. Is that?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So now, so we've identified why there was a jump in the borrowing, because we got to do a shorter loan. Okay. So now we're talking about what we're expecting in terms of the take rate, meaning how many people are going to subscribe, being 40%. The range of, in the first instance, 1.5 to 4 versus now 3 to 8 is, am I correct in saying that that is tied to that take rate range? Meaning if we have a 40% range, then that's the low end. Excuse me, a 40% take rate, that's the low end. And then that would mean 8 million. If it was higher, 60%, then that would push it down to the 3. Is that correct?
And so that was under the old model, not what Ian's
Okay.
proposing. Yeah.
Okay.
With Ian, it's 8.6 million as, a borrowing for the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, then my question is the 8.6 based on a range, or is the 8.6 definitely the figure?
8.6 funds the construction of the central fiber hub, and then the whole pilot area and half of phase 2. So it would connect 1,600 homes.
So yes, 8.6 is the figure that needs to be borrowed for those
Yes.
phases that you've described.
Yes.
Now, and the 40% take rate of subscribers is an assumption, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now my next question is, that 40% take rate, the 40% take rate assumption, what is that assumption based upon?
Yeah, so in Western Mass, of the communities that have town-owned fiber, that has been the lowest that a town has had a take rate of, is 40%. So that's kind of like the floor that we see.
Of the towns that have implemented this?
Yes.
That at a minimum, they end up with 40%
Yeah.
take rate?
Yeah. So like for example, South Hadley, who we're partnering with on this, they just finished building out their entire town last summer, and they have a 55% take rate already. So more than half the town is already subscribing to their fiber internet. Yeah. And then so in Ian's cash flow chart that he put together, it's going off of 40% take rate. So if that initial, if we're getting 40%, that covers all the operating expenses for the enterprise fund and would be able to cover the debt service to build out the rest of the town. And if you take a look at kind of what the expenses are for the enterprise fund, most of it is the debt service, right? It's actually to run the network, the operating expenses for the network is not that expensive. It's really the debt service that, makes up, I think, 80% of all the operating expenses.
That's our final debt, isn't it? 17 million.
So the debt service
That's your
on
final
the
debt.
original $8 million of borrowing?
No, sorry. So the debt service to build out the rest of the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the revenues from the subscribers are going to fund the debt service on the remaining build-out, or is that something separate?
It should, yeah. It's projected to fund the remaining build-out of the town.
There's more debt that we're taking on. We go up to almost 18 million in debt by the time we're done.
The MLP does.
The MLP does, not the town.
Okay, but there's 18 million in debt in the MLP, right?
Yes.
What, sorry?
Okay. But there's more TED brought on. It might be the MLP.
Right, right.
The MLP is owned by the town,
I mean, the MLP is a separate entity.
okay?
Yeah.
So we can bail on it and it's fine.
I don't know about bail.
It
I don't
wouldn't
know
impact-
if
it
we have
wouldn't
an
impa-
option of bail. I mean, it's a separate entity. It runs. on
Okay,
its
but
own.
if it can't pay its debt service, what happens?
Well, yeah, I mean, so, I mean, but there's a couple of different things that could happen, I think, and I think maybe Ian could speak to this, to this more, but, you know, I think that there's also, you know, obviously ratepayers, there's potentially, if we do MWIC, there's municipal aggregation that could be a backstop, there are a lot of different things that the MLP could use as a backstop.
Okay, but if it defaults, does that impact the town in any way?
I mean, I'm sure, I mean, this is.
I mean, we
question
might
for
not be
Ian.
obligated to pay, but it could impact us in other ways, right?
I assume so, yeah. I mean, I don't
If
know.
the
Yeah.
MLP were to default, yes, it would impact the town.
Okay.
Does the town guarantee the debt?
The town would guarantee the general fund debt as it's funded through property taxes. And the enterprise fund, depending on how it's borrowed, could be guaranteed. If the bonds are revenue bonds, it's not necessarily the case.
And how are the debts secured? Are they secured on the poles and infrastructure?
It would be secured on the infrastructure, yes.
So the fees that are gonna come in are not going to alleviate the project from doing additional borrowing. Additional borrowing is gonna have to take place in order to complete the build-out to service the what we would, I guess, call a full service to the town. Maybe not necessarily every single household and every single, but basically full service to the town. Additional debt is gonna have to be taken on beyond the 8 million.
Right.
But the 8 million, but that is not gonna be borrowing that's done through a town warrant article like this. It's gonna be taken on in a different way, by a different entity.
Yes, so the MLP would be making the debt service payments.
And the MLP is a utility. So when we talked earlier about South Hadley has a utility, we don't. We're gonna make a utility, and that is the MLP. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the MLP, a different entity, the utility, Long Meadows Utility Company, is going to borrow the additional money to do the build-out. And the projection, or the expectation is that the additional borrowing to do the rest of the build-out is going to come completely from the fees and revenues that are raised from the services that are being provided by the fiber company, not by the town of Long Meadow taking on an additional warrant article debt. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. And the mechanism for that to be approved is because the MLP utility is going to be independent. So they're not going to have to come to town meeting to say, look, we need to borrow 17 million more. That they're going to do that on their own. This is in theory, because it hasn't formed yet. Is
Yes.
that-
So I think, this is complicated, but.
Sure. That's why we have this meeting with all these people here.
So, according to our town council, and I also looked at the statute, it looks like even if the MLP is going to incur debt, they still have to get approval at town meeting. Okay, so, and it's a 2/3 vote that they'd have to get at town meeting. We've also talked to other towns that have MLPs that have said, ours is structured in a way where we don't do that. We just need a majority of a vote by the MLP board to incur debt. So unclear, I mean, I would say, but from what I understand of it, it looks like it would still need to come to the town to have a 2/3 vote at town meeting.
Okay, that's clear. So, well, it's clear as I think as we can make it right now. So then the next question is, we are currently in excess of our select board policy in terms of borrowing. Yes?
I don't believe. I
When,
don't think-
if the MLP goes to, if the MLP brings it to the town to take on additional borrow, or let's say the MLP doesn't, whether the MLP does or doesn't, for the additional borrowing, is that additional borrowing going to count against the town's borrowing for the purposes of the select board policy for our debt borrowing limits?
So let's cover, Ian can answer
So
the first
currently,
question
our
first.
debt service for FY '27 is $9.9 million, compared to our general fund operating budget of $83.2 million, giving a percentage of 11.95%. Now, this includes the first year of interest for the new Williams Middle School project. If we add the first year interest due of the fiber project, which is about $345,000, our debt service would increase to about $10.2 million, giving us a new percentage of 12.36. So that would put us over the policy.
Which
Now,
is?
12%. Now, it is important to note that this would change with FY '28's operating budget, as we're looking at FY '27's numbers, and we're not including 2.5% plus new growth, plus any other revenues generated as compared to what our operating budget is. So it's not exactly that 12.36, but it could be close to that.
Within the last two meetings, Ian has run through and looked at our debt projections over the next, with all of our current borrowings, so.
So I guess, the next question is, Ian, with your projections, is the select board's understanding that this borrowing, given what may happen in subsequent fiscal years, that this, even with this borrowing, there is a possibility that we might still be within the policy in terms of borrowing, or are we definitely gonna be over?
We are definitely going to be over once the Williams Middle School project starts. That would be the significant borrowing for the town to undertake.
I think, I just heard Kara say, what's the most? How much over?
What is the most?
In the projections, what's the, so you referenced 12.3. I heard another reference by town number of 16%. Here's just 12, I don't know what that was based on, but what's the most over policy we'll see with these projections?
It's hard to say without having the exact operating budget to compare, but it could very well be in the range of about 14 to 16%.
Thank you, Ian.
And could I just ask, the S&P letter that we had, that is already saying that our debt is concerning compared to other towns, do you think that this is going to factor negatively into the ratings going forward?
One of the things that S&P looks at when they review debt projects or any type of debt taken out by the town is the financial stability of the project. It would certainly help the town to know that there are revenues associated with this borrowing to help pay off the debt service over the life of the bond. I can't speak to the specific nature of if this will have an impact on our credit rating. It certainly might. Unfortunately, the timing of our credit rating agency discussion is after town meeting, so I won't be able to give an accurate answer as to what the impact will be, but it's certainly a chance that this will impact it.
Which brings me to a question that I can't take credit for, because I can't take credit for the idea for this question. This is something that was sort of taught to me over many years by another finance committee member that would always ask this. I'm not gonna. What if we don't do this now? What are we risking? What do we lose? What if we defer this to when we have more favorable numbers, or maybe we could get? I'm not going to start speculating on what we could do. Is there any urgency that we're missing, or that we haven't talked about, if we don't do this in this warrant article? Because you said we wouldn't even have the numbers in time if we're doing it for this warrant article. If we didn't do it for this warrant article, what is the risk? What is the? I'd like to hear the select board members' thoughts on that. If us putting it off another cycle, another 2 cycles. has that been discussed? Are there any thoughts on that? I want to hear what you folks have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, I think just construction prices and everything would just increase. It would just make the project more expensive the longer that we wait. Also, there are, pole applications that are currently in with pole owners, Eversource and Verizon for this project. That was part of the funding from the November 2024 special town meeting. There are time limits on how long those pole applications can stay live. So, I don't know if we were to defer this a year or 2 years, whether we'd have to reapply and spend another $250,000 on pole applications. So that, that's another consideration.
Can I just address something, sorry, that was mentioned? I just wanted to also point out that whether it's this project or any other large type of project, we have a revenue problem. We cannot do these types of projects without a borrowing. So if it's not this project that you're asking about the credit rating for, it's gonna be the next project and the next project and the next project. This is one of the very few, if not only, project that has come forward that actually generates revenue. So I think that's important to think about when you're looking at the long term. There is a revenue source attached to this, whereas all of these other borrowings that we've done, there is no revenue coming in. We are just paying for roofs and chillers and windows and all sorts of needs. So the credit rating thing is always going to be at our doorstep because that's how we're paying for our projects, is by borrowing for them.
Yeah, that's 2 points. One, I wanted to say or echo what Lynn was going to say. Is there aspects of this that make me nervous? Yes, absolutely. But sometimes there are risks that are inherent in you're taking a big swing, and that's because one of the things that Lynn always says to us is, we keep knocking on the same doors. There's only so many places we can make revenue in this town, and it's raising taxes. The fact that there is something here that may have be a net positive for the town is really tempting. If we could guarantee it was going to work, we'd all vote for it, absolutely. But we just don't know. But the projections, and credit to Ian for doing some good thinking on this, and for the task force on even exploring it as far as they did, was that maybe it can. And I think that is, we have to really take that into account. The other thing on, more on your question, if we wait on this, we know that there's another company out there that has pole applications in, Gateway Fiber. If we wait, they'll smell blood and hop in on this. And what I think, and I have not heard all the things that Benith has heard, but they will build out, if they build out at all, they will build out some of the town. They will not build out all of the town. They'll build out the most affluent and closely habitated parts of town. And once they decide that they've reached their capacity on what is going to make the money, they'll stop. And then the rest of the town, no other company will ever do it, and no other, and it wouldn't make financial sense for us at that point, unless we can do the whole town. So I think that is something that will, is a consequence of waiting. And I also think, and like I said, I have concerns about this, but if we don't do it, I think that Comcast will, they're already funneling a ton of money through their dark funding, and they'll also smell blood, and you will just start seeing your rates creep up. They'll say, nobody else is ever gonna compete with us. Not that either of those are reasons to absolutely vote for this, but they're, to me, that something that we have to consider.
With respect to the gateway piece, and the concern that if we do not move now, that gateway will, I guess, preempt us, is what I'm hearing.
We're already kind of at the same spot right now.
Is it, are we saying that if Long Meadow votes to do this, that Gateway will be legally preempted from doing it, or are we saying that we speculate that Gateway will be discouraged from doing it? I want to understand what is the blocking mechanism on Gateway, which is a private company, right? So like Comcast, some other company, they want to do the same thing, but they want to do it so that they build it. It's their network. They charge the money. They collect all the money. It's theirs. They're just another cable company. If we vote to do this, is that going to stop them?
This is something I think I know the answer to, but I'm not sure, so.
No, I mean, so there's nothing that like a town could do to block them.
Okay.
I mean, it would be a very high bar. It would have to, they would present like a public safety issue, which is such a high bar that's basically not even relevant. Because the poles are owned by private companies. They're owned by Eversource and Verizon, and Eversource and Verizon kind of decides who can get on the poles. So so there's nothing the town could do or any of us could do to like block them. I think, but what we have seen in Western Mass is that a private company has not competed with town-owned fiber. So there have been instances like in East Longmeadow and West Springfield where private companies had pole applications in. Once the towns decided to move forward with town-owned fiber, the third parties pulled their pole applications. So, I just think that, I mean, if you take a look at, and I think just kind of add on to what Josh was saying too, the city of Springfield had discussions about this last summer because there's a private company starting to build out in Springfield, and they identified the same problems that, they call them honeypots, that like these private companies will come in, they'll build out the very profitable areas of town, and then, the rest of the town will just get left behind. And I think, when we were looking at this as part of the Municipal Fiber Task Force, one of the principles that we had was we wanted to ensure that every home in Longmeadow could sign up, sign up for fiber if they wanted to, and that it shouldn't become the situation where some parts of town get this and others get left behind. And I also think that just the type of service, the quality of service that some of these private companies provide. I mean, the design and engineering, all this stuff is kind of done on the cheap, 'cause it's just to maximize profit, really. If you talk to folks like in Northampton, there's a lot of folks that sign up for Gateway and are now switching back to Xfinity, which is kind of mind-boggling that somebody could be offering fiber, but the service is that poor that they're actually switching back to Xfinity. And so I think that's part of the reason why some of these private companies don't try to compete with town-owned fiber, because town-owned fiber, like the way we're constructing it or proposing to construct it, is more expensive than what a private company would do, because we're using better materials, better design and engineering, but it's because we want to be able to provide something that's going to last and provide value for the town, and it's not just about maximizing profit at the outset.
Josh, hopefully 2 quick questions. One, have we talked about, are we going to build it out so this town and the schools, that they're able to go on it and we save money? And have we talked about what that's going to save? Or are they going to be charged? And are they part of the revenue? How is that being handled?
So I think the town and the schools already have fiber existing, but once we, if we were to get this online, I think some of that fiber right now is administered by the Massachusetts Broadband Institute. So then they would no longer have to administer it. We would be administering it, and we'd be saving costs on that front. I'm not sure exactly how much that would amount to, but
That goes to Boston, right? They explained it to us.
I think so, yeah.
It's a complex network.
And who is going to be responsible for the maintenance of this system? People employed by us, the MLP, FiberSpring?
No, yeah, so FiberSpring. So
Okay.
This is part of the contract that we would have with FiberSpring, and this is the same model that other towns have been using with Whip City, and we would be doing with FiberSpring. So FiberSpring would take care of all of the admin, billing, customer support, technical support, and they would take care of all of that.
But just to add on to that, the town would own the infrastructure. So if for some reason we didn't want to use FiberSpring anymore, it's ours, and we can go to a different vendor.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
I could say something following on with something Josh said. I think, I don't know if this is going to be a success. I don't think anyone truly knows. There's clearly valid points in favor and against, and we've heard a lot of questions. And I'll admit, when I thought it was going to be maybe 1.5 million, then it was going to be 3 or 4 million. Now it's 8.6 million. Yeah, that gives us pause. That's a significant number for our town. But in the final analysis, I think you know, even though there could be, of course, better proposals and a lot of things have been suggested, like that are very good suggestions. Like, wait, why don't we ask the town if they're going to sign up? Then we'll know if 40% of the people will sign up. Honestly, I think it's really a referendum on if people in this town want fiber, and if they do and they think it's important, it's going to pass. And if they don't and they don't think it's worth it, it's not going to pass. And every one of us probably falls somewhere on the spectrum between against it to for it. But like Josh said, it's not, right now I think we're deciding to put it on the warrant. I certainly see, no matter how any of us feels about it, that there's no reason not to put it on the warrant so the town can decide. And I think that that's what's going to happen. You guys have a very important role in looking at it and saying, does this make sense financially? You've raised a lot of great questions, obviously. A lot of questions I think people out there also have. And so it's really important that what you guys, honestly, it's really important what you guys think as well. So.
Well, I'm gonna go back to Andrew, though, that's great, except that what I've seen is a financial model, which I have questions about. It doesn't, I mean, it's gonna cost us more if we wait. We don't have inflation built into that financial model. So it's an interesting, because it's built out over 5 years. I don't know what the goals are, and, I mean, other than to play it out as long as we can to minimize costs now, which I don't think is a good idea. I don't know how rates are gonna be set. I don't know a lot of things about how this thing is gonna run. Alls I know is that we wanna build something, and this is what it's gonna cost, and we think it's gonna be great. But the business model part of it is not clear to me at all.
There was no inflation in the projection?
Well, I mean, also, I mean, the construction takes place over, you know, the next 5 years. And so there's, a lot of it is upfront costs in that sense, is that it's all gonna happen over the next 5 years. And, you know, most of the expenses are debt service, which is a fixed cost, right? So, you know, of course, there's going to be some inflation and wage inflation. I think like Eric and I were kind of talking about this today, over the next 5 years. And, you know, that will have to be accounted for if that wants to be, you know, if someone wants to model that out. You know, but I think this is an estimate of what this would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of assumptions, and I think that the people who have made those assumptions did so very earnestly and sincerely, but obviously there's assumptions about the interest rate. There's assumptions that we're making because we don't have the make-ready costs, and that's what the 27 million is based on, as is inflation. So, you know, yeah, those are valid points that you made, Eric.
And if we actually had higher acceptance, 27 million is not the number. If you have higher acceptance, it gets up to, I mean, if everyone accepted it, the number's 35 million. So just, everybody needs to be aware that there's a lot of numbers in there, and we're doing it based on a bunch of assumptions. Now, if everybody accepted, the model's gonna fall clean, and I know that. But we need to understand there's more coming in this, and we really haven't seen those options. We haven't seen kind of the outside of it. I think it's worthy of doing that and showing it to people in a very honest way. If this is our public utility, we should freaking have access to that.
Well, yeah, and I will say too that, you know, just to make clear that the total plant cost would be more expensive because you are building out in the beginning before you know, all the revenue is coming in, and so that's why it would increase the cost of that, but also would make it cheaper overall.
I agree, it makes it cheaper overall, but it may require us to take on even more than the 18 million. I mean, so just as we look at that, I mean, I think it's worthy of better modeling, better understanding, and stuff being presented to the population about, yes, we've thought through this. And rates may indicate stuff that you'll pay a little bit more when we start this to get this thing. Things like that need to be embedded in it.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is that, you know, this model is based off of all the other models in Western Mass that have worked, and then, you know, when people are talking about how risky this project is, and the risk involved with it, you know, this has not failed anywhere in Western Mass. This has succeeded every single place that it's rolled out. And so I just want to make that clear, and that's also why the task force ended up with this recommendation and felt so strongly about it, was because this has worked everywhere in Western Mass.
Ian, something that I think people would like to know, and I know you've calculated it because you told us, but how much would the average homeowner's property tax go up for the 8.6 million?
Sure.
Let us know.
So the average home price in Long Meadow as of 26 is about $565,000. With a 2-year short-term borrowing and a 20-year long-term borrowing, the estimated tax impact of the average household would be $2,140, or an average of about $97 additional dollars of tax over the life of the loan per year. Our goal is to have this tax calculator on the website for access by the end of the week.
So 2140 over the 20 years is an average home. If you have a home worth 565, that's how much you pay, and it comes down to like $97 a year.
Ian, just digging into one of the assumptions.
Yeah.
The 4% interest rate, I know you talked about that a little bit. It struck me as maybe a little low. I know you mentioned, I think in your earlier comments, that it could even be maybe in the 3s. What's your confidence with that rate? And is there any risk that instead of 3%, it's 6% by the time borrowing comes around?
Yeah, that's a great question, Marty. I mean, right now, interest rates are pretty volatile with everything that's going on in the world, so it's really important that in the model I try to use a more conservative rate. I tried to mention earlier that we are seeing better rates by comparative municipalities, but I wouldn't want to give a lower rate and give the impression that the cost would be cheaper than it already is, or that cheaper than it could be. So that's why I felt a 4% was fair in this model. It certainly is, unfortunately, we don't know where interest rates will go in the next 5 years, and it very well could be that it could be higher than that. But given the fact that the town has a AA+ rating, we have seen that S&P and other credit rating agencies have said that we've traded a AAA, which is the best possible, but we have a AA+. So we should see favorable credit ratings.
Is the pop quiz over?
What's the percentage of vote of the town to approve this? Is it 67 or?
2/3.
2/3?
But this is also going to follow the same process as the middle school, so it would be a 2/3 at town meeting and then a ballot vote at our annual town election on June 2nd.
Which is just a majority.
Which is just a majority.
I guess my only question is, Ian, are you gonna adjust what you have in there for depreciation? And do you think it's gonna change your model significantly?
So I'd have to go back and look to make sure I'm understanding what you're talking about for the depreciation. But if it is correct that it is using capital costs instead of revenues, that it could change the model, yes.
Okay.
Now, just as an aside, this also, we are building a revenue fund in the model, but we're also taking into effect that if the enterprise is profitable, there will be retained earnings as well being built on the side. So that could almost act as an additional reserve for the enterprise itself.
It could, but it wouldn't be intentional and could be used for other things too. So it would be better to have the appropriate depreciation budgeted into it, right?
Agreed.
All right. What is the board's pleasure?
All right, I will move to approve Article 7.
Second.
I'll just start off, I will just discuss a bit. I think that I'm always grateful when we have these sessions with the Finance Committee. I think there were some great questions asked. And I really appreciate the questions on the model, especially from Erica. I think that for a portion of the population of our town, the numbers that we present will probably never make them feel good about this, and I think that that's okay, and that's that's why we have town meeting. People can vote against it for whatever reason they want. But there's a lot of good information out there. We're going to continue to fine-tune that information in the way it's presented, as Ian got some good notes today, I'm sure. And there's a lot of opportunity to discuss it, including at the next session in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, when we have a warrant session and people can ask plenty of questions on that. So I'm going to vote to put this on for the reasons I mentioned before, that I think that it'll never be perfect. Maybe it can be tuned and we can do that now, but I think there's been a lot of work on this, and the townspeople deserve the chance to vote on it, come what may. Anybody else? Dan?
Yeah, I would just say, well, first, I want to thank the task force #1 who worked on this, and also Beneath. Whether we agree with it or not, I mean, there's a ton of work that goes into these types of projects, and I know just over, probably the past few weeks or so, Beneath has taken a lot of questions and in some cases, some heat probably from unwarranted from people. But I think we all get involved because we want to try to make our community a better place. And one of the things that I've noticed just being on the select board is kind of what we walked into, which has been deferred maintenance, what Erica was talking about earlier, and the inability to really raise revenue in a way that we can actually benefit the overall community. So when I look at a project like this, and when we have the municipal, the MLP, I view that as an opportunity that the MLP can say, okay, we have seniors in town, we have veterans in town, we can actually have flexibility with the rates that our seniors are paying for services, for our veterans, for maybe some folks who might fall through the cracks. So you're not getting that with Comcast. And I think this is a bold statement for us to make as a community to rally around and provide a better service. And I think 10, 15 years ahead, we're going to look back and say this is a really good idea, as opposed to what we're seeing now on the select board with things like water sewer, which paying down rates was a really, really bad idea, and now we're paying for it as taxpayers. So again, those are my thoughts. Obviously, there's a lot of changes that can happen with the model and the numbers, but as we saw at last town meeting, or a couple town meetings ago, that there was very overwhelming support, and I think we have a really good opportunity right now to improve infrastructure in the town and provide quality services, while keeping in mind we're also relying on the folks that are using this service to pay for the debt as well. So long story short, I just want to thank Beneath for all your work and everyone else on the task force, the finance committee for weighing in. So anyways, that's my 2 cents, but I do appreciate all the questions and everyone's interest on the topic, so thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was
All right, see nothing further. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to Article 8.
Article 8 authorizes the town to join the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company, referred to as MWIC. This potentially opens us up to more favorable borrowing opportunities. But regardless, if we don't go with MWIC, there is no obligation. It's just joining the cooperative there, which could give us better borrowing options.
Question, Lynn. If Article 7 doesn't pass, do you think that Article 8 is still important to do?
It gives us another option
Yeah.
for aggregation rather than, what's the one we have now? Good Energy?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think there's really no harm in it, in what we know. And Lynn, I had a question on this as well. Is MWIC, do we know, or Ian, do we know what rates do they give better rates or better terms, or what's the advantage of their financing?
It still remains to be seen in terms of what the potential benefits would be. When we met with them, they talked about preferential rates, but we're still early on in the process, and they have to do their own initial research into our community in order to determine what that could be. So I don't have an answer.
That's okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion on Article 8, or anything from the Finance Committee?
I'll
I'm
move-
sure this is a
It's not
finance,
financial.
a finance amendment, or article.
Yeah, it is.
Is that financial impact?
No,
I mean,
no,
no?
but nobody wants to say anything.
All right.
I'll move to approve Article 8.
Second.
Any further? All those in favor?
9 is the budget. There's a vote later on in the agenda for the actual FY '27 budget. You have a budget article, and it would be populated with the budget numbers that you approve later on in the agenda.
Anything from Finance on this?
Well, it's, admittedly, I haven't really seen any summary of what the budget outcomes were. It's like what went up or down. I think school department went up a little and DPW went down. I think, at least we've been worried about DPW for the same reason we're worried about maintenance. And I think my big question around DPW, and I'm gonna, if other people have other questions, was, I feel like because we have not been able to fully staff DPW, even at a flat budget, if they fully staffed, that we would end up spending more money. But one of the things I'd asked Ian was how much overage they had in their budget every year, like how much did they get back each year? That was the one question that I asked.
Sure. So I went back 5 years to look at this, and if we look at from FY21 to FY25, just looking at the general fund, not looking at the enterprise funds, the DPW turned back about $375,000 per year in terms of their appropriations to what they expended.
Okay. And so how much less is their budget this year than last year?
Let me pull that up.
So the budget is $384,000 of reduced expenses, but an overall $180,000 decrease in the general fund.
Okay. So basically, even if they fully spent their budget, they would be spending more than they spent last year, on average. Like, yeah, so.
So it would be more in terms of the COLA impact
Okay.
for salaries, but there were some large expenditure cuts throughout the general fund.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, I understand why we might have done it, but I also know that we haven't been spending all the money in DPW every year, so I don't know if it's an impact of service or not. That was the question.
And this is something we talk about a lot, Select Board. It is a constant struggle, as you said, to fully staff. It's something we have worked very hard to try to remedy by trying to pay people more. I don't know if Sean has anything he wants to say, if he's online, but this is something we absolutely have been watching and are concerned with. And to go back to your first question, schools were up 2.6, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so a slight increase, which was welcome, or sorry, a slight increase over there, 2.5.
And then capital went in flat to last year, right? So there was
Yes.
no inflationary adjustment.
Correct.
Right.
Though that lovely $50,000 would make a lovely little inflationary adjustment on the capital, I'm just saying that. So we're funding less in capital this year. So, I don't know, it's just a very interesting, and I'm also worried because a lot of that capital is being paid, is gonna go to debt service for the $5 million bond that we built out for the road. So our actual spending on capital is decreasing in total because we did that $5 million bond.
Right, but we did the bond so we could get a lot of work done. We got a lot more bang for our buck last year.
We did, but the total amount we're spending on capital is even lower because of it. So we just have to be really careful with that stuff. And again, I don't know, if anybody else on the finance committee, I just feel like we all agree it's there, but we're more committed to defending OPEB than this, and it's just a very weird thing to me, so.
Well, I wouldn't say it that way. We don't want to ignore OPEB and let that fall by the wayside, because we can only, I always think of our actions now versus what happens when the next select board comes in. And if the next select board, or 2 select boards from now, looks back and says, well, in 2026, they said forget about OPEB. I don't want that to become the norm. And does that go for capital projects as well? Absolutely. But sometimes we have to make decisions, and that's what we did this year.
Any other questions for finance committee on budget?
I think I'll just add a note of thanks and appreciation for Ian. You and I have been working on the tax rate projection, and going off of what's in the budget letter, I think we were only 20 cents off, so good work on shepherding that through.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help on that. Anything else on Article 9, or take a motion?
I move that we approve Article 9.
Second.
Any further? All those in favor?
Okay, Article 10 is the capital plan.
We're covering this more later in the meeting, but anything from finance at this juncture? Already been covered, I presume. And maybe finance doesn't know this, but I guess it has now changed terms. We had field study or something before?
Yes.
And so, can you explain what the $200,000 is?
Sure. When the capital plan was prepared and submitted by DPW, at the time, it was called like Williams Field renovation or rehab or something like that. Clearly, we're not doing that, and so the project name has changed. We are anticipating heavy overuse of Russell Field and the high school practice field. We know that we will then need to design rehabilitation after those fields get so heavily overused. They need to be overused because we have to move the sports that are at Williams and accommodate them elsewhere. And so this is the starting funding for the design of that rehab work.
Is it 2 full years of use at the other fields? How long is Williams going to be offline for?
It'll be, yeah,
2 fall,
just
2 springs?
2 for springs and 1.5 falls.
Okay. Any motion on Article 10?
I move to approve Article 10.
Second.
Anything else? Seeing nothing further, all's in favor? Okay.
11 transfers the interest off the operating stabilization fund into capital stabilization fund. This was enacted last year. This is the amount this year, and we just have an article there to transfer the funds.
And then this would come up at the fall vote?
Yeah, assuming that we have a project ready to work on, which likely we would.
Okay, but yes, I mean, so this is to be then used based on the fall meeting, okay. Well, that's exciting.
Thank you to the Finance Committee for your work on getting this policy for us.
Yep.
I look forward to using the money. Okay. Any motion?
I just want to thank the select board for continuing with this, because it has to be tended. It's not automatic. It has to be implemented as a policy, and you guys have to keep on voting to support this. And so we thank you for that.
That's a good point. This is something that we should always have on our look-aheads going forward, and if the regime changes, we need to make sure that people keep doing it.
Yep.
Good point. All right.
I move Article 11 to the warrant.
Second.
All right. Anything else? All those in favor? So I think you're the only one who made the motion correctly.
I'm usually the one making it the wrong way.
You're biding your time. Go ahead, Lynn.
Article 12 moves $367,000 from stormwater retained earnings to fund a stormwater capacity study and catch basin repair report. This is a capital item, but it's funded through retained earnings in the stormwater fund. This will put the stormwater retained earning balance below policy level. I had talked to you all about this when I presented the capital plan, and there seemed to be a consensus on comfort level with that dipping below.
But the plan is to get it back up.
Yeah.
We have a theory in place. Anything from finance on this?
I motion to move Article 12 to the warrant. Did I do that too quick?
You got that one wrong. Gotcha.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
13 is your standing district improvement financing article. Shows up every year.
This is an example of some money we spent where it did become a net funding for the town, or positive funding, eventually. All right, anything from finance on this one? All right, Shelley, I'm going to give you another.
Now the pressure's on. I make a motion to move Article 13 to the warrant.
Perfect.
Second.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Uh, 14 moves money from free cash to the ambulance capital account. This is a new one for us as a result of Department of Revenue.
Changes in statute.
Yeah, thank you. You're nicer than I would have been. And so we will need to do this now annually unless we have a different mechanism for the ambulance fund in the future. But this is money that was due for the ambulance account. It had to flow to free cash, so it's just moving it from one bucket to the correct bucket.
Okay, anything from finance?
The fire chief thanks you in advance.
I bet he does. Okay.
All right, I'll move Article 14 onto the warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
And 15 and 16, I will defer to Ian on. He had been working closely with bond counsel on this one.
Yeah,
Both of these.
thanks, Lynn. So, Article 15 represents water bonds, or water unexpected bond proceeds that need to be reappropriated for a new water main project that was approved at the last town meeting. What we have the ability to do is the DPW director, the basis manager, and myself review the capital status of projects to see if there are any projects that are complete and still have unexpected bonds. When the bond proceeds are still outstanding, we have the ability to reappropriate these for equal or longer term projects. This article and the next article represent those.
So I should ask this last time it came up. I know when the Farmington water mains were done, but, which was fairly recently, how are some of these, how old are they?
I have a schedule. I can pull that up. Just give me 1 second. But some of these are really old. I can tell you, for example, the like the Elmwood Drive sewer. That's at least 10 years old, if not longer. So some of these are really old.
A big credit to Ian, the accounting team, and DPW. They have gone through with a fine-tooth comb to close out capital projects that did not need to be carrying any sort of balance anymore, which is why you see some of these numbers, $119. I mean, they really did the due diligence to go through that list, and a lot of these predate every single person that was in that meeting.
Yeah, so your question, Josh, some of these are from 2012, 2016, 2018. Some are from 2020, 2021. So there's a very, very different years for this, but
Okay.
some are older than others.
And just on Maury was talking about before, we should keep an eye on things like this to make sure they're not sitting.
Yeah.
Because between Farmington and Birch Road, that's
Sometimes
$400,000.
it's a matter of trying to find a good borrowing to put these to, because the problem that a lot of these capital projects have is they're required to be equal or longer terms, and a lot of the times it's the or longer piece that we're looking for. So if projects are, a 15 or 20-year borrowing, sometimes there's that mismatch of we have prior borrowings that we can't use those funds for. So we're looking for the best use of the funds available.
okay. That makes sense. All right. Thank you. Anything from finance on this?
I make a motion to move Article 15 to the warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
16.
16 is the same thing. This is specifically for sewer projects. So these are unexpended bond proceeds that need to be reappropriated for an equal or longer term borrowing.
Okay. Any motion on this one?
I make a motion to move Article 16 to the warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
17 is one that Ian worked with Chief Rigney on, so I will let Ian take this one as well.
Excellent. So this Article 17 is to rescind the borrowing authorization for the fire truck. If you remember from our May 2023 annual town meeting, we needed a borrowing authorization for the fire truck. This was intended to appropriate the funding for the truck at the time, as it was required as part of our contract to have something in place to build the truck. There's a long lead time on this, and I've spoken with Chief Rigney, and this will be provided to us this summer. So it's very excited to get this new fire truck in, and with the appropriation from this year's capital account, that $150,000, we will have the funds available to pay for this without a borrowing. So this rescinds that borrowing.
Great.
Nice.
Okay. Any motion?
I make a motion to move Article 17 to the warrant.
Second.
Any further on this? All those in favor? Do you want to do 18 and 19?
Yeah,
together?
that'd be great. 18 and 19 are revolving fund reauthorizations that you need to do annually. The first one is for the Council on Aging, and the second one is for the Parks and Rec Department Town Athletic Field Signage Revolving Fund, which funds go towards athletic field maintenance.
I know the 250 is fine for the athletic field signage. Jim had asked us to raise the Council on Aging fund a while back. Is this the right amount?
Yes.
Okay. Take a couple of motions.
I'll move to move Articles 18 and 19 onto the town warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
20 through 25 are Community Preservation Act articles.
Okay, so we can move those on in mass?
You can, you actually don't, you can't not
We
put them
can't,
on.
we can't do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move to move Articles 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 onto the town warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor? Okay, I think
That's the end of the financial
that is
warrants, right?
finance, yep.
Okay, can I have a move to, are we a move to adjourn or move
Yes.
to close?
Are we closing?
We're closing here and moving
Yeah,
over
then
to
you'll
the other rooms.
reconvene. Yeah.
A recess.
We're recessing, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys, and I apologize if we were too questioning, but
No, this
this
is-
was very helpful.
This was fantastic.
Makes us feel like we have some value.
No, and I want to say too that, I think, like, especially with the fiber project, because that took up so much time today, it's like, we want to get this right, like I said to you earlier, so, your engagement, your thoughts, all of this to make this better, is welcome, and we'd love to hear more.
Well, I guess that's my offer to you, is that I do believe that there are ways that this absolutely makes sense. And I think the Finance Committee is happy to help model out different things if you want to be able to show stuff. So please utilize us in that way. We can make the model better and tighter, but we can also help you say there's different ways we can approach this and see if that helps you tell your message, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
really, truly appreciate
Yeah.
the time you all put in and coming to our meetings and schooling us. We appreciate it.
Okay. So Maura, you know what to do? Or,
Yeah, I move we recess.
All in favor? All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He does what
I did it too last time I was in that spot. Do you want me to wait, or do you want me to keep going?
I think you've got it.
Okay, Article 26 removes the Long Meadow Building Demolition Committee and consolidates this under the Historical Commission, which had been the original intent when the bylaw was put forward in 2006, but was amended on the floor of town meeting to create this separate Building Demolition Committee. We have not had luck filling those positions, partly due to the fact that that group does not have a lot on their plate to actually have to meet for. So it definitely lines up better with falling under Historical Commission.
Okay. Motion on this?
Yeah, I'll move to move Article 26 onto the town warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor? Okay.
And 27 has the way the bylaw was written was, does not allow consecutive terms. You term out, and it has become problematic. And so this would remove that provision. And
And we don't know why this was in there, right?
we don't.
Yeah. Any motion on this?
I'll move to move Article 27 onto the town warrant.
Second, sorry.
Jeez, controversial.
All right, anything further on this? All those in favor?
Okay, 28 is the snow removal one.
Then I can go through this one a little bit. So
Thank you.
I did a lot of work on changing this around. I talked to my personal legal counsel, Julie Morgan, who has very strong feelings on sidewalk clearing. And what I really changed was the definitions really had rules in them, and so I made them definitions and then changed. The biggest thing I changed was how the violations worked. So it was snow or ice occurrence was used in two different ways. So a snow or ice occurrence now is snowfall that reaches 1 inch or any ice, and it concludes after 24 hours. And and then it said in the rules down below, first occurrence, second occurrence, so it was a little confusing. So the way I think I've written this now is for each snow or ice occurrence, there's a written warning for the first, if code enforcement goes to a house, they can give a written warning. After 24 hours, 48 hours, they can give a $50 fine, then 150, 150
So
after
Josh,
24 hours.
Is it, the fine is now 100, or is it 50 plus 100? And I saw that there will not be cumulative, so is it basically one fine and it just increases? Or you get a fine the second time, and then a 50, then 100 in addition to that, then 150 in addition to that? Or is it just one fine?
That's covered in number 3.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's right, I had to look for it, because I couldn't remember what I wrote. The fines after any given snow or ice occurrence shall not be cumulative, except for D4 below. So that may be, if it goes beyond 120 hours, so after 5 days, or 96 hours if it's a second time in one winter, it may be cumulative $50 fines. So basically, if it goes 2 weeks after a storm, there may be 150 plus $50 every day. This also gives the code enforcement discretion. So if they go to somebody's house and they say, I was out of town, or I was sick, something like that, code enforcement can waive that. Good question.
So it's one fine, basically. First time you've done something wrong, the fine goes from 50 to 100 to 150, but it's one fine.
Right, so
Right.
it's essentially
Not
$50 a
cumulative.
day.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. That's right.
But
Thank you.
but after 3 days, then you can have $5
Thank
or
you.
$50 after. So, I don't know if anybody, I know we had a lot of
Hopefully
amendments on
that'll
the
be a
floor.
shorter discussion.
Yeah, and there was amendments on the floor which are fine, they're just hard to follow, and I remember I could not see little TV. I guess it's not little, but it was little to us as we all age. We're even speaking for myself, but hopefully this will alleviate a lot of the concerns.
Thanks for working on that.
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you, yeah. I will move Article 28 onto the warrant.
Second.
All right, anything further? All those in favor? All right, Lynn?
29 prohibits cryptocurrency automatic teller machines. We talked about this at the last meeting. It was a request of the Long Meadow Police Department. It has also been reviewed by town council, and we're seeing a lot of other communities adopt similar bylaws.
Okay, yeah, this seems great.
I'll move Article 29 onto the warrant.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor?
And 30 is a planning board one that they've been working on, cleaning up some language and now removing or making it very clear that signs shall not contain any commercial message or symbol in any traffic sign, like on a traffic sign.
Was this something the planning board brought forth themselves?
I believe so. I think it's one that was kind of low-hanging fruit
Yeah.
on the list of ones to be cleaned up.
Okay.
I'll move Article 30 onto the town warrant.
Second.
All right, anything further? All those in favor?
Right?
Do we
and-
need to move the next two onto the
No.
warrant? They're on, okay. All right, so we are done.
Okay.
Okay. Or Beta Group. Thank you to the rest of the board members for your hard work on that. This was an interesting warrant cycle, but I think we all did a good job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Who do we have speaking, Peggy? You can bring them both in. Yes. He was up at the top. And Anthony?
Sean, can you hear us okay?
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Peggy, you gotta move in Anthony as well.
Who else?
You guys hear me?
Anthony?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
I can.
Perfect.
Can you promote Tony Guerrero and Tito Sanchez?
Yeah, he's coming in right now.
Anthony's in, Tito is also in.
They have a separate slideshow. Hopefully they can put up this more accurate than this one.
Boy.
Okay, the one in the agenda is not the one we want?
Yeah, there was an error in it we fixed.
Okay. Can you let, who needs to share their screen?
I'm sharing, well,
No, they need to share.
Anthony?
Yes, you can stop
Tito.
sharing.
I'll be sharing my screen.
Okay, so you can stop sharing. Red button, I
See
think.
it?
Yep. And then, and I've reached the limit of my Zoom knowledge. So we need Tito to share.
Yeah, they should be able to just share out, right?
Oh, there we go.
Allow, hang on.
Yep. All right, Tito, you should be good now.
All righty, thank you.
Tito, I don't see any Yukon attire on.
Not yet.
Something going on with them?
Yeah, a little game might be going on right now.
Bear with me for 1 second here. Yeah, are you able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it, Tito.
Ah, perfect. Very good. So I'm Tito Sanchez. I'm a GIS manager at Beta Group Inc. Along with me today is Anthony Garrow. I'm going to let Anthony introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for inviting us on tonight to give you an update on the pavement management program. My name is Anthony Garrow. I'm the Senior Vice President at Beta. I head up the Geospatial Asset Management Division. And Tito works with me every day. And we have a team of 15 people just doing GIS and asset management across New England. So really happy to be working with Long Meadow and Sean on your pavement management program. Sean, did you want me to just go right in?
Yeah, feel free to go ahead.
Okay, all right. All right, Tito, you can go. Oh, thank you. I'm actually going to be looking at another PowerPoint because my eyesight's pretty bad. But so, again, benefits of pavement management. So the idea of developing a pavement management program is there's several opportunities to utilize the data. You guys were talking a lot tonight. It's been a great meeting, listening to all the items on your agenda. But first and foremost is protecting your roadway infrastructure. Big investment managed by the community, millions of dollars every year going into maintaining your roads. The information that's developed provides the ability to plan ahead. We've deployed a GIS-based program that allows you to be predictive, allows you to develop capital improvement plans, and ideally you want to identify the appropriate treatment at the right time, and that's really the focus of pavement management. And the other thing here, we always talk about proactive versus reactive, and this plan that we've developed is really, it's a guide. So you still have the subjective nature of it, although we did use AI to collect the information, but the idea is to allow you to have a program that allows you to be predictive the best that you can using the tools that we've provided. Next slide, Tito. You cannot talk pavement management without presenting a pavement deterioration curve or pavement planning curve. So the program that we've developed really falls along the baseline data that's collected, but every day the pavement's deteriorating. You can see through the course of the winter that we've had freeze-thaw cycles. So this winter was extremely severe, so it was great timing in having the program developed last fall and collecting your data, getting new condition information. The main thing here is by collecting the condition information, it's providing you with an understanding of your roadway network. The information collected through an AI process is not subjective. It's consistent across the community. It's going to provide the tools for identifying different scores and repair strategies, establishing estimated costs of improvements, and ultimately probably most importantly, is developing a prioritized plan that using the empirical data that was provided. But again, the deterioration curve, really everything revolves around the deterioration curve, and it really serves as the linchpin for all the decisions that are being made. Typical 5-step process. We've worked with over 100 communities across New England. This is a very typical approach that we take. The first step in the process is to set up the system, which includes GIS mapping. This is our second time inspecting roads in town, so we already had a database and GIS mapping in place. So basically, as part of this process, we wanted to confirm the information. You may have taken on some new roads. We want to confirm it against the Mass DOT data that's also readily available. And it's important to do that, as that is what dictates your Chapter 90 allotment. Step 2, collecting all the information, inspecting the roads. This is the most time-consuming and really the biggest cost in the project, and also the most important. Analyzing that information that's been collected, qualifying the data. We do have a lead inspector and engineer who reviews all the information. The AI is very good, but not perfect. Next step in the process, after analyzing the information and confirming it, is to start working on prioritization of the roadways, developing a capital improvement plan, looking at multiple years, looking at budget numbers that are available, and also forecasting out the improvements and how those would improve the roadway network. The final step in the process is really an iterative process where on an annual basis you want to maintain the program. You've made an investment in your program by hiring Beta and developing the system, so it's very important that on an annual basis, or even more frequent, update the information as improvements are made. So the program focused on the town-accepted roadways. Little over 94 miles of roadways were inspected. There are a little over 100 miles of roadway in town, make up of town-accepted, private, and state roadways. But the focus of the project was the 94.2 miles of roadway that are considered town-accepted. So the pavement improvement program focused on using a LiDAR-based technology. AI technology is really, in the forefront now. We've been looking very closely at a wide range of vendors that we partner with. We've had very good success working with our vendor, Civil, who provides a LiDAR and also imagery that's collected. So as part of the data capture process that we completed in the fall of last year, you can see that our data collection vehicle had a LiDAR sensor fixed to the roof. It also had a 360 camera, similar to what you would see with Google Maps, and also a forward-facing camera and rear-facing camera. So a great deal of data was collected, and through that process, the 0 to 100 condition scores are established. And then we do a quality control program, like I mentioned before. The data comes forward to us in a GIS format, and we have our QA/QC personnel review the information. What we're seeing now is typically around 80% of the data is typically spot on, and about 15 to 20% or so needs to be modified. Here's some examples across the community. So again, every roadway was scored 0 to 100. We have imagery every 20 feet. So within the program that we've deployed to Sean, you can see these images every 20 feet within the platform. So these are just representative examples. Emerson Road, recently completed, beautiful roadway, scores 100. Knollwood Circle, RSAR 90, another roadway. Different types of classifications or importance to the road, to the community, but two very good examples of roads in good condition. Next slide showing roads in fair condition. So now we're falling a little further down the curve, getting closer to the midpoint. So Bliss Road scored a 74. You can start to see some longitudinal transverse cracking starting to come through. Frank Smith Road scored a 60, and you can see more distresses starting to appear in that image. And then you get into roadways that are in poor condition, and these are more toward the bottom of the curve, and you can see where you have a host of different distresses, patching, potholes, longitudinal cracking, alligator cracking, edge cracking. So cracking that you would typically see on a roadway that's in poor condition. So the information that was developed Again, each road scored 0 to 100. And what this chart is showing, different repair bands that were established to help with planning road improvements. So starting at the top of the curve here, no maintenance required. Typically roadways that score 90 to 100, so those are in very good condition. Typically nothing's planned for those roads that are in that 90 to 100 range. However, you got to remember that the predictive model within the software is going to start to move that roadway that's scoring in 92 down the curve. So it's going to then fall into routine maintenance, which would be 80 to 92. Again, roads are still in very good condition. Typically roadways in that range, you're looking at crack sealing or fog sealing or some type of rejuvenator. You want to extend the life of roadways in that category. Now moving down into preventative maintenance, 65 to 80, roads in fair condition. And that's where you can consider surface treatments such as chip seal, cape seal, and shim and overlays. So the idea here is to capture these roads that are still in routine maintenance and preventative maintenance before they get into the rehab category. This is when it's going to become more higher cost repair when you get into poor condition, and that's when you're getting into mill and overlays, cold in place recycling, level and overlays, reclamation, and reconstruction. So there's a lot of different options available. Again, higher price as you go down the curve per cost per square yard. So here's a breakdown of your information. So good news is your roads are currently scoring 72.57, which is a good score. The breakdown of the information from the repair band analysis, you have right now, you can look at the pie chart, and you have right now about 39 or 40 miles of roadway that fall in that category, about 43% of your roads. Preventative maintenance, almost 17 miles, which makes up about just under 20%. Routine maintenance, 19 miles of roadway, and that's exactly 20%. And then your no maintenance required at this time, you have 17 and a half miles, about almost again 20%. So the distribution really of your current repairs is a nice balance. So it gives you an opportunity to really develop an effective program where you can assign a wide range of repairs. And again, your overall network score 72.6. On average, we see anywhere from say 67 to 74 across New England. It really varies based on the density or the nature of the community, whether you're suburban, rural, or urban. I would consider Longmeadow will be more suburban in nature. We do see scores in the high 50s. We do have a few towns that we're working with that are above 85, but those are few and far between. This is a map depicting the conditions across the community. As I mentioned before, everything is set up in a GIS environment, so it allows you to thematically map your roadway conditions. This is showing, again, those repair bands that I just described, and also the exact scores for each roadway segment. Tito, I'm going to ask you to jump in and talk a little bit about the technology that we're providing to the town.
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good, fantastic. So similar to the map that we previously saw, that was a PDF version. The map that you're seeing here is a web-based online version that's interactive as well. So you're able to zoom in and out, look at the different roadways. The pie chart on the left-hand side here, in the lower left-hand corner, is interactive. So as you click on each of the segments or pieces of the pie, only those roads will show up. So if you click on the red segment, all the red roads will show up, which gives you more details as to what's going on those roadways. At the bottom here, we've got a chart that gives you additional information per roadway. Again, it's all interactive. You're able to select a road and only that line for that road would show up. On the right-hand side, we also have a roadway paving history by year. Sean was nice enough to give us all of the paving history dating back to 2021. And what this allows you to do is to view trends and the roadway repairs. So as you select on specific roads, not only will it give you the condition of the road, but it will also give you the paving history for that road so you can go back and see what was done to that particular road. Again, being interactive, the more you zoom in, the more information you start to see. So here you start to notice that the closer you get to the roads, these dots begin to appear. And as Tony alluded to before, we're taking imagery at every 20 feet, and that's represented here by the dots that you're seeing on the screen. As you click on one of these dots, the representative photo for that dot will show up on the little panel here with the image that you're seeing. Now, the nice thing about this, again, it's a system of record. Say 10 years from now, if you wanted to look at this information, you are able to archive this data so you can have it with you, and you're able to see the condition of the road as it was of the time of inspection.
Tito, if I just want to add too on that program, it's a live system. So as things move forward, whether you update it to reflect improvements that you just made over the course of the year, or also too, if you just open it, say in June, you're going to see potentially that 72.57 could be lower, unless you've made improvements between now and in June. So it's a live program. New system that we're deploying to the town also allows you to track, edit, and also interact with the capital plan, all in the web-based program. So really cool technology that Tito and his team have put together for us, and really excited about it. I'm anxious to see Sean's feedback, get feedback from Sean as he starts to use it.
Absolutely. And the other part of all this too is that you are able to integrate other assets. I noticed here that we've got a tab specifically geared towards parking lots. We are able to integrate other assets, like I said, like signs, pavement markings, if that's data that you already have, and then other utilities as well. So it allows you to generate a holistic capital improvement plan where you're planning not just for the roads, but anything that's associated with it. So again, utilities, signs, things of that nature that will help you, or sidewalks, curb ramps as well, that will help you generate a more holistic capital improvement plan at the end.
Thanks, Tito.
Yeah.
So what this slide now is showing, like Tito mentioned, the system allows you to track improvements over time. So dating back to 2021, you can see that there's a little over 17 miles of improvements that were made. Very balanced on an annual basis. You can see the consistency on the repairs. One thing I do like to note is that the miles of road do not include crack sealing. So crack sealing is really more of a routine maintenance category, and is typically tracked separately from the major repairs that you see here on the map. So I love to see thematic maps. You're being able to see the information graphically by year also helps you start to develop a plan of attack for the next 3-5 years. So eventually you're going to see this map filling in as eventually all or most of the community roadways in the town will get covered by some type of an improvement over the next 15 years. So the bond referendum, I'm really impressed with the outcome of that program. So this map here is showing in orange the improvements that were made last year and into this year, primarily mill and overlay type improvements. So again, 4.7 miles of roadway improvements were made. Approximately $7 million was spent, and now the resultant network RSR is a 72.57. Now that's an increase of 3 points from the baseline RSR that was established back in the fall when we did the re-inspection. So that's a lot of work to accomplish in a short period of time, and to increase the number by 1 or 2 points annually is really significant. Again, that's a live program, so roadways deteriorate as you're improving roads, scores are going down. So to be able to pick up 3 points in that short period of time is impressive that on the town's behalf.
Can I interrupt Tony for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up. One of the reasons we brought data back so quick after our first time we did this was because of the volume of work that you guys have done. And in addition to the 5.1 million we did for the bond last year, we also piggybacked another like over $1 million for for Chapter 90 and an additional allocation plus old Chapter 90. So it's a little bit below 7, it might have been 6.5 million. But because of the amount of work that we did with the paving, as well as the STIP project, the Staffing Yale project, and the Western Drive project, we felt it was important to have data come back and just update the information so we could really work. I want to additionally say that the work with that bond was just in terms of timing, because if we had tried to do the same amount of work right now with the current oil prices, I think we've gotten far less work done. So I just want to highlight that, and I think to put the town in great posture, for the credit of the board for moving that project forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide, which I like to call the money slide. This one is depicting forecasting out estimated budget numbers to maintain your roadways at the current level, which you can see the cost is $1.35 million. So you've invested this money, you have a current score of 72.57, and you want to keep your momentum going. You want to set more goals. You want to continue to see that our overall RSR score continue to go up. So these are some goals that we've established through the modeling program. We can conduct other models as well to look at other scenarios. This happens to be one example that I would consider really a balanced program looking forward. But there's other scenarios that we can run for Sean if we're asked to do that. But again, 1.35 to maintain your current score. So planning and prioritization, this is really, the most important part of any pavement management program. We presented the findings of the recent reevaluation of the roads, the impact that the referendum had on the overall network score, and you can see, the improvement to the roadways across the community. And, it's important to be consistent in the approach, and, I like to say trust the process and be patient, and you're going to continually see your roads to improve over time. But in order to see those roadways improving over time, you really need to establish, a well-planned, multi-year program that's using the information, but it also needs to take into account, Tito, can you go to the next slide? It also needs to take into account other factors. So you have the roadway condition scores, the recommended improvements, but you also have the roadway functional classification, which are arterial roads, collector roads, local roads, cul-de-sacs, traffic volumes along those roadways come into play, the cost of repairs, the life years added to a particular roadway plan, subsurface utilities, sidewalks and curb ramps. All of these components come into play when you are developing your capital improvement plan. And it's very prudent to make sure that you're not just looking at the roadway condition, but you're also looking at the underground utilities and also your ADA requirements as you move ahead. So the proposed plan, we're looking at a 5-year plan, and starting in 2026, and you can see the breakout of the plan with the estimated repairs. So another about 5.5 miles are programmed for 2026, a little over $6 million. And then you can see the numbers go down, where now we're focused more on maintaining the road scores in 2027, 2028, and 2029. But it's important to note that to continually to maintain these roads at that high level of service that all the community and stakeholders expect, you need to continually provide funding that's beyond Chapter 90 funding, and continue to consider bonds or other appropriations. Next slide, Tito. And final slide, this concluding remarks. You have a comprehensive inventory of information in a user-friendly environment that you can analyze, use for planning and tracking conditions, designed to help better manage your dollars that you do have available, And then, like I mentioned previously, the system's capable of assessing different types of programs based on different budget scenarios, repair types, and ultimately, we want to maximize the life cycle of your roadways across the town. So with that, happy to take any questions you may have.
Josh, can I ask one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for this presentation. It's very interesting. I love the maps. I just want to know what the takeaway is, because on one hand, I think you said the network RSR of 72 is actually not bad, but I'm looking at this and I say, wow, 43% of our roads are in rehabilitation status. And is that good? How are we doing compared to other towns, I guess? Like, what's your assessment with these figures? I didn't get the kind of the takeaway. That we're doing well, or we're mediocre, or we're in trouble?
No, I think right now you're in a good position. So I'd say you're doing well, but you're at that point now where you want to continue. You want to continue with the process, continue to have an organized plan, continue to budget for roadway improvements on an annual basis. Do not just rely on Chapter 90 funds, because then you're going to start to find more roads get into that rehabilitation band. So that the idea is to try to extend the life of roads, keep them out of that band if we can. But every community has roadways that are in poor condition. It comes down to how you use the data, synchronize your work with underground utilities, other infrastructure projects that are taking place. Because you do have a lot of other improvements that are ongoing throughout the community, complete streets projects, other projects that can help fund roadway improvements. But it's important to make sure you leverage all those funding opportunities to keep things moving along.
So do you feel like
and really to answer your question, I think you're in a good position.
You definitely are sounding a little more optimistic, and I'm glad for that. But so, rehabilitation status is poor condition. 43% of our roads are in that. Is that not as, are you a little more sanguine about that than those words mean to you? Like, we're actually above average, would you say, for towns like ours? Like, is it not that bad to be in poor condition for 43% of our roads?
Well, yeah, you want to try to avoid having any roadway really in poor condition. But again, you've got the entire road. You can't just get every roadway up to 100.
Right.
It's not possible. So that's why having this information, and yes, you do have roads in that band, but the idea now is to capture those roads, get those on the program, trust the process so you can continually upgrade those roads that are in poor condition, but also maintain the roads that are in good condition. So, because you don't want to continually see roads falling down into that category, then you're in trouble. But right now, I'd say with the balance of your roads based on the scores, right now you're at a really good point. Where you can really go in the right direction and really start to see your score even go up higher.
So you'd say we're above average. Would you say that? Is that accurate?
I'd say, well, again, the sweet spot, 67 to 74 is what we typically see. We do see some in, high 70s, low 80s, and then some as low as 58, 62. But right now, I'd say you're in that 67 to 74 range, which is fairly, typical.
Thank you.
The 80 is a pretty high score, so we're not really looking. No one's going to be 100. So
yeah,
if you get
80 is very hard to get to.
So I mean, we went from the 60s to 70s. At least we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that needle's definitely turning. In the program that Tito described, will provide Sean with that needle. It's going to show this is where we are. This is where we were in the fall. And now the needle's turned, and we want to see that needle continually go towards 75.
Now, thank you. It's good to know that our big swing last year made a difference, but looks like it's going to cost us a lot of money to just keep the status quo. Very hard to continue moving up. So, Sean and our finance team, we're hoping you can be creative and use this information wisely. Anything else from the rest of the board? No. Okay. Sean, anything from you before we move on?
No, thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you to Tony and Tito. We appreciate you coming in and presenting this information, and we will have you back sometime.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You as well. Okay, anything on correspondence? No? Lynn?
Okay, I'll be quick. Perfect segue, notices about active construction projects. We currently have a bunch underway, Route 5 in Converse, the L project, Western Drive water main and sewer rehab, and Bliss Park playground improvements. There's going to be traffic impacts in some of these areas during construction hours. You can expect delays, one-way traffic, alternating route signs, and all of this information can be now found on the active construction projects page at the DPW. You can get there by longmeadowma.gov, and we'll continually update that with project updates. Eversource Gas is working on a couple areas of town. NPL Construction's been in the area of Laurel and Converse Street, and the Converse and Forest Glen. Precise Paving will be in the area of Long Meadow Street from the state line to Lawnwood, covering up the area that NPL had fixed last week. And this is for final trench repairs. And it's caused some traffic headaches, but necessary work. Fanny Stebbins plaque dedication, 2026 marks the 75th anniversary of the Fanny Stebbins Wildlife Refuge. The Friends of Fanny Stebbins board plans to hold multiple events this year to commemorate the anniversary, including special walks in the refuge, lectures at the library, and among other celebrations. To launch the 75th celebrations, there will be an official dedication of the Stebbins Stone plaque at the West Trail parking lot on April 15th at 3 o'clock, with a rain date of the 16th at 3 o'clock. So just as a reminder, this was the plaque that had been on the wall in the old meeting room at Town Hall. And so now it's found its home in the actual refuge, and they're holding a ceremony to mark that occasion. And you're all invited to attend. The Wolf Swamp Vestibule project has gone out to bid, and the low bidder was Inglewood Development Corporation in the amount of $220,000, which is good because we had that money available to fund the project, so it didn't come in higher than we had funds available for. Work is expected to start when school gets out June 24th, with a substantial completion date of August 16th. In the report, I go into detail on the work that's happening, but this was a safety improvement that had been in several years of capital plans, so it's good to see that we'll be able to make this project complete this summer. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Seeing none.
Just want to add that also saw sidewalk work being done.
Yes,
yeah.
yep.
Oh, I did know, I should ask when Sean was on. One of the trees that was supposed to come down has
Yeah, I noticed.
posts on it.
Yeah.
Do we,
One of the trees that was supposed to come down where?
by the Route 5 project?
I thought it was already down, no?
There's
No,
one,
there's
there's
one.
two supposed to come down.
Yeah.
One is down, the other one's not.
Has posts on it?
It
you
has
said?
the
Yeah,
protective
Oh,
skirt.
I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
I noticed that too.
Just let the construction equipment take it down.
Well, there might be some people who wouldn't like that. Okay, anything else? All right, moving on to old business, we have the minutes.
I will move to approve the March 23rd, 2026 Select Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor? Okay, Lynn, go ahead.
Okay, so you've previously received presentations on the FY 2027 budget and the FY 2027 capital plan. This is now just the formal vote on both to accept them. Once you do, you obviously have the opportunity to amend anything you want to, but once you take the vote, they become your budget and your capital plan, and then we will enter that into the warrant.
Okay. Any discussion on this before we move on to motions? I know we've covered these a couple times so far. All right, seeing none, take a motion.
So is the wording on this like vote to approve the capital plan and the budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Vote to approve the FY 2027, or sorry, I move to approve the FY 2027 budget and capital plan as attached to the tonight's agenda.
Second.
All right. Anything further? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Okay. And Lynn, what is the,
And now you just actually set and close the warrant.
is there
So,
particular language?
just that you would move to set and close the annual town meeting warrant for May 12th, 2026. That means nothing else can be added or removed.
I will move to set and close the May 12th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Anything further? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? And nothing, no action on this, but we've already canceled the next meeting, and the warrant info session memo, just explaining what we're doing, is on the agenda. All right, moving on to new business. Poor Barry's been waiting for us on Parks and Rec after school and daycare fees.
Yeah, Barry. Barry, you okay?
I can, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you very much for putting me on your very busy agenda. I will be as brief as possible. As you can see from the spreadsheet, which is a catalog of all of our programs, most of them you've approved the fees for. There's 5 that are either new programs or increases that I would like to present to you for your approval. The first is the Aqua Zumba class. That's a new program that was added to our program catalog, basically in response to the surveys that we did, the program surveys after the season. And this program initiative is reflecting our continued commitment to meeting community needs within the aquatic programming. The next 2, if Peggy's willing to scroll down, I can lump together. It is the school age and the daycare programs. Those are both existing programs, and if approved, these programs will be implemented in the fall. The increases would be implemented in the fall, however announced with pre-registration in early May. So if you decide to approve and you vote at your next meeting, Parks and Recreation would announce that to parents shortly after that. We don't necessarily like to increase our program fees. These are pretty modest increases. Daycare is a 3% increase and school age is a 2%, primarily to address COLA increases, step increases within both programs. The daycare supports 8 full-time staff, multiple part-time staff, school age 1 full-time staff, and a multitude of part-time staff. And then with school age, it also addresses the slight increase in transportation. The next 2 are the acting and scene study is a new program. It was presented and designed to meet our FY26 GFOA goal of expanding our teen programs. So that's a nice program, and it's new to our catalog. And the last proposal is for the Mad Science program. That's an existing program that's vendor run as opposed to staff run, and they are proposing increases to address their rising expenses such as their staff costs. All the updates are aligned with fiscal sustainability and sound business practice, and I ask you for your approval to move forward with these increases.
Thank you, Barry. These all seem very reasonable to me. Just a question on the after-school and before-school programs. As you said, they're modest increases, but if somebody is unable to handle those, do we have any, is there financial aid or any considerations for people?
We do have a mechanism for financial aid. It's the Trilly Scholarship Fund, so anyone can apply as long as they are a Longmeadow resident, and we utilize the federal poverty standards, the guidelines. So we have probably a couple dozen residents currently in the program. Most of them are interested in summer programs, but it would allow them in reductions in those fees.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the proposed fee and program changes?
So moved. Second.
All right, anything further? All those in favor? All right, thank you very, appreciate you waiting.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, speaking of waiting, we'll move on to our public shade tree hearing.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for waiting, we appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, and I do believe Jean Christie, if she's not there in person, might be over Zoom as well, from Ty and Bond representing the project.
She is here, would you like to come up?
Okay, wonderful.
How'd you know to get here so
So
late?
thank you all. I'm gonna keep my camera off because I don't know if you could tell, but I'm under the weather, but you're not missing much on my end. But I thank you for having me back. I'm certainly providing you with another memo regarding a tree hearing that was held. It was held on March 26th for 6 trees in front of and along Williams Street in front of the middle school and a budding household. In reference to the upcoming middle school redevelopment project. As you guys know, this is not a project that came out of my department, so I just reviewed it as a, the plans that were given to me, what would happen to the trees if the project were to move forward with the proposed plan set. And as we discussed at the last meeting regarding the ones on Route 5, we're in a similar boat. I reviewed the trees as either in direct conflict or very near direct conflict with upcoming construction. I did receive quite a few objections by many folks who abut this property, so that resulted in my denial of their removals. However, that denial issued by me doesn't necessarily reflect my opinion, and based on the review of the plans and how the trees will react to construction, it's my opinion that they should be removed.
Great, thank you. Jean, would you like to introduce yourself and explain how the trees fit into the project?
No problem. My name is Jean Christie. I'm a principal engineer with Ty and Bond. Thank you for having me tonight. The 6 trees that are proposed to be removed are due to the roadway widening proposed along William Street. There's a couple pieces in play here. The roadway widening is allowing a left turn lane into the new school facility. Part of the reason why that widening is going north versus south is, if you recall, on William Street, on the south side, right at the edge of the curb line, is kind of a pretty steep slope. I think it's maybe 6 feet or so. So pushing the roadway, widening it southerly, would require retaining structures probably along the entire length of the frontage of the school. So that's why we opted to push it northerly and require those 6 trees to be removed. I think that's all.
Thank you. I'm not, I'm aware that the irony of us doing this, maybe not classic irony, but of talking about removing trees right before our Arbor Day proclamation. But I will, as somebody who's familiar with the project, can you tell us how many trees are being added on the parcel after the project?
Right, so, remember looking at the parcel, great, you can see right here. the property itself has that wide open field, so there's not a lot of trees being removed inside the project. The trees that you see behind, this is on William Street, right?
Yes.
The trees that you see there I think are all behind where the sidewalk would be, so those are all staying. And then immediately behind that, we are proposing additional trees before we get to our parking lot. Most of the trees added to the project are gonna be along the abutting properties to the east and the west.
And there's a lot being done for shading.
And there's a
so-
lot, and I couldn't
for
give you the
screening.
number,
Okay.
but a lot.
Do we have a photo of the 6 trees we're talking about? That if it's not these?
I think we'd have to scroll a little further down the street.
Towards Grassy Gutter or towards Laurel?
Yeah, it's that way. It's where
So
the new
those two
driveway's
right
going in,
there,
right?
or
To the
two of
right.
them.
Yeah.
I think it's like at that.
So those two, Leah said?
Are they on the tree belt or?
Yeah, those
Yes,
are
they're on the
the
tree
tree
belt.
Okay, thanks. So nothing
That one,
north
yep.
of the sidewalk is.
I think there,
we're not
isn't
talking
there
about this.
one or two because that's where the driveway's going?
They're all on the property. The ones that are need to be removed for the driveway are on the
Oh,
property.
okay, so they're not part
not
of,
in the tree.
they're not under our jurisdiction. Okay.
Correct.
I'm sorry, all 6 are north of the sidewalk, not on the tree belt.
All 6
No.
are within the tree belt.
They're
Are in the tree belt, thank you.
South of the sidewalk, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's that one and then there must be something behind us.
So if you continue up this street towards Grassy Gutter, there's 2 trees, one on each side of the driveway for 458 Long Meadow Street as well, which is this first household.
Right here.
Yes. So those as well, the curb cut's gonna come in very tight up on that tree trunk, and those trees both already have defects, are planted too deeply, are, seeing construction impacts from how tight the driveway is on them. Adding additional stress and compaction's only going to push them further into a higher risk category. And at the end of the day, in my review as the arborist, I was considering, like we talked about last time, at the end of the day, it's the risk of failure compared to the consequence of failure. And with these 6 trees having a slight increase of risk of failure to varying degrees, and the consequence of failure, as this is a highly trafficked school route, that consequence is severe if a tree were to go down. So that is another, the main driving factor is really considering that consequence if those were to go down.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay, and we, I don't know if we've seen the widening project. I know I just saw it at the planning board meeting last week. But just for those curious, I guess we don't have a good map of it, but right in front of the school, there's a left lane being added to the north, or there'll be a turning lane that'll fit about 6 cars. So it should funnel cars better onto the driveway. And there'll be a signal there as
There
well?
will be a signal.
Yeah. So it'll be a big change, but as somebody who, I drop off my daughter there every day, it'll be welcome. All right. So, we just did this at the last meeting, I don't remember. We are voting to, is it deny the appeal? If that's what we want?
Am I going to get a chance to speak here?
This isn't a public hearing.
Right, so that she can speak, but we can't? Or the other side?
Yes, she's the proponent.
Yeah.
I will allow,
I live at 458.
okay, it's not a public hearing, but if you'd like, you can have 3 minutes to speak, since you waited this long.
These trees have been there near our house, the trees that you're taking down, since the 1920s. There is nothing. There's nothing wrong with these trees. When we had this hearing, the tree warden said that she had examined them and that she found some disease with these trees, without saying when she looked at these trees and what kind of ailment they had. That's number one. Number two, in the long debate on this project, the Williams Middle School, the issue of taking down these trees was never brought up. The townspeople and the voters at the town
I'm
meeting.
going to ask you to keep on subject, please.
I am on the subject. It relates directly to these trees. Because these trees that are on or near my property are what we're talking about here tonight. So it's very much a part of what we're talking about here tonight. So the trees that are being taken down here was never considered by the voters. They never told the voters that there was going to be this driveway that was going to happen because of, and that they needed to take these trees down, what you've heard here tonight. There's nothing wrong with these trees. There's no reason for you to take those trees down. And I can tell this board that if you continue in your plans to take down these trees, I am telling you that it's gonna, we'll see you in court. If that's what you want to do, if that's the way you want to go, more power to you, but we'll see you in court. Thanks for having us.
May I
late
just
at
add
night.
one thing? Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
We've had those trees checked by your person many years. We've
Can
always,
you
'cause I
speak at
was-
the podium and introduce yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Carrie Cowlick. But we had those trees, I've called the tree warden many years. I was worried about the limbs going over, assured me no storm was gonna take it out, those trees were healthy. Our next door neighbor filed an appeal to this, and she received a letter back. And in that letter, it said, although the trees are healthy. So I don't see the reason, it's just gonna destroy our property. We'll have no shade trees, we're gonna have a line of cars in front of us, we're gonna have a line of cars next to us. We're gonna be in the middle of a parking lot. At least let us have some shade in the house if we have to, there's gonna be a light there, I don't even know how we'll get up. But I'm just saying, at least if we could have a little shade left in our property. We're very careful about cutting down trees. We trim trees, but we don't cut them down, but that's what we were told for many years. The trees are fine. So just wanted to let that out there, because she does have it in writing too, that she said the trees were okay. So, well, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question of you? Thank you. So the curb cut for the widening of the road, how close to the trees, the particular trees on their property does it come? It doesn't actually touch them, or it does?
The back of curb is pretty close. And that's why one of the choices was to include those two trees in the removal plan, because we couldn't guarantee their survival based on cutting the road back and dropping it that 6 inches to put it into curb.
So how pretty close, what does that mean? Feet?
Feet.
Several, like
Less
more
than 5 feet.
And then when this came up at our last meeting, I know you're not the arborist, but I guess we can ask, but what is the harm? We did ask this the last question, but I'll ask it again. What's the harm of just seeing if they'll survive in that location?
Would you like my response, or do you want to ask?
Yeah, either.
I think it's that risk that if, we can take as much care as possible, and I think we would want to, if it does damage the tree and then you have to cut it down after the fact, or if it's damaged and then falls into the road onto a property, that's the risk part of it. And Leah may have a different response.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, Jean. Thank you. And also, I would like to, if the trees weren't in this current fair to good condition, some of them are fair, some of them are in better condition. If they weren't in those conditions and they were in poor condition, we wouldn't even be here. They'd just be axed and wiped out, without any kind of hearing, because it wouldn't be necessary. That's why we've gone through this process of doing the tree hearing, is because we don't have that mechanism to bypass it. That being said, it does, like Jean said, come back to that risk. As I mentioned last time, construction within that that distance of a tree, you're gonna lose about half of that tree's structural rooting system. You're losing it on the roadway side, meaning all of its anchorage on the roadway side is gone. Any kind of wind tunnel coming through that street, it's very likely it will kick those trees onto the school's property over the sidewalk where pedestrians will be walking to and from school. So, you know, I did outline in my memo to you all some of the defects that I noted on the trees. Some of them have cavities. Many of them are planted too deeply. Oak trees also are not trees that are well apt to handle road salt, so they are already under a lot of stress. So adding any additional stress of removing half of a tree's root system and adding compaction is not going to fare them very well.
If I could speak once more. Thank you. The two trees that you're talking about, or two of the trees that you're talking about, I understand the trees near the edge of the property, but these two trees that are the subject of this hearing are on either side of my driveway. They're far and away from the corner of where the Williams Middle School is going to go in. These are two trees on either side of my driveway. There's nothing wrong with these trees. That's all I wanted to say.
Is it possible to see a plan? Can we see that, where the road comes in and where the trees are on the plan? We may not have that right now.
I wonder if we can pull up I can send Peggy the planning board agenda.
I have a paper plan. I can jump into the Zoom meeting and share the plan that I submitted with the application for the tree removal.
I can pull it up.
I'm working on pulling it up on my
Okay.
end at the moment.
So should I presume that while we're waiting, his driveway is actually being shortened, basically by the widening?
Right, because
Okay.
of the way
Yeah.
the widening transition needs to start, right?
Okay. So these are the two trees in question. I believe.
Yeah, Len, that's actually not, I didn't find anything good in there.
Nothing in there? They didn't post their slide deck.
Right.
If you actually just go on Google Maps and type in 458 William Street.
Yeah, this is where we were
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, if you kind of just scroll down a
Those
little
two
bit,
trees.
yeah, you
And
can see
then
that
just go this way because it really does show you
on either side.
proximity.
Yeah, right
Now those two.
Yep.
here. Yep.
So the road widens, like, from where the photographer is now, is this where the road would start widening?
Right, start widening to the right. And that is because that right lane needs to shift over so that when you get to the signal, that right lane isn't in conflict with the lane that's turning left.
Can you get in the Zoom and pull it up?
So already the road is like 3 feet from the tree. Because you were mentioning 5 feet, it's already within 3 feet,
Correct.
like right there,
But
yeah.
see, right here is where the transition to the full width
Right.
starts. So it's not from here a full 12-foot wide lane. It's just
Okay,
where
just
the curb
starting
line
there.
starts to be relocated.
But you see, these two trees were never part of the plan. It's
Alright.
these
Yeah.
trees. These trees are what the problem was. But these two trees were never even in the whole debate about the school and whether it should win. The plans never came back this far, and we were never told, none of the town meeting members or the voters were told that these trees were gonna be coming out.
Leah, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have we ever, in this situation, like, obviously you are planting trees every year, could we consider, if these trees come down, we plant a couple trees, even at this gentleman's, like, desired location?
Absolutely, and I can say I just submitted a grant application with the state to plant 65 trees along Bliss, Laurel, and Williams surrounding these schools to encompass that. And the grant reviewer is actually requested to come do a site visit with me to further investigate the application. So, you know, we've been averaging almost 200 tree plantings a year. We've exceeded removals with plantings. It would be no sweat off of my back to add new trees. I understand we're not putting in, you know, a automatically mature tree, and it will take time to get large. There are faster growing species that are more adapted to tougher environments than white oaks and black oaks, so it would not be an issue at all.
I think if the board, and it seems quite necessary, to be quite honest, based on the location of these trees and what needs to happen here, that your assessment is necessary. But I do recognize that this is kind of an unlucky property that basically is going to have cars on two sides. And I think that if there's anything we can do to help mitigate that by planting as many trees as are reasonably possible to help, we should do that.
Of course, we'd like to be around to enjoy it.
I'm not sure what you're
These
implying.
trees are over 100 years old.
I see what you're
Think I'm
saying.
gonna be around here in 100 years? Maybe you will be, but not me.
I understand it's a very, very difficult situation, sir. I'm sorry.
My house has taken, they're gonna take a section of my property down at the other end to do that driveway. But it just seems unfair. I'm not complaining about that. But these two trees are on the other side of my driveway, and they don't have anything to do with it. They've never been inspected, there's nothing wrong with them. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, but
I have,
You could have the.
I have something close to it.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for it to hit the inbox, and it hasn't yet.
I mean, I've lived in this town for 42 years. I've been active in town, I try to help my town, but this,
As you can tell, we're not doing this lately. We're thinking about this.
well, that's all I can ask.
Just takes, there it is. All right, this is what the proposed roadway will, where the location is. It's not the greatest rendering to show you, because this was not the intent of this rendering. But I think it will give you a better idea.
Is that green what's being added, or that's a
That's a
sidewalk?
sidewalk.
So where's his driveway? Can we tell?
Right there where the red arrow is.
Right, yeah, right, you can't really see it because of the shading. but this
So
is
the green is going to be new widening.
sidewalk.
The
No,
teal.
that's the sidewalk.
Oh.
The
There is
widening is really
existing.
up in front of the school.
up further, yeah.
It's Woodside.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is it clear?
William Street.
Yeah,
on the
so-
left.
Is this William
On the
Street?
side over here, no, this is Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is the new
Yeah.
driveway.
Okay, yeah.
So where we're talking about
Yeah.
is right here.
And it is being widened there.
That's where
correct?
the widening starts, yes.
Yeah.
So that the people who turn right can get out of the through lane, basically.
It's so that folks traveling west on Williams,
Yeah.
when they're driving past the school, aren't in conflict with the lane that's turning left. Like, that lane has to go around them, so you're not right at them.
They're gonna move in and the traffic can go straight.
I'm happy to pass this around. I know everybody can't see this, but.
This will be helpful.
This shows
I don't understand what
the
that
left
is.
lane turning, this is the school.
Okay.
This is Williams. This is the new left turn lane, so everything pushed this way.
I
Just
see.
to make sure that these folks can drive straight through and not crash into them.
Wait, so these people are going west and they're,
What?
how are,
Yes, they're
Oh,
gonna be
I
driving
see.
west here, but they
then
need to.
scooch in.
yeah,
I see there's,
stay here.
so
They're
this is the going
back
westward
there.
lane and then this is the turn lane. I'm
The
sorry, it's
turn
much
lane is
smaller.
through. It's
I
facing
see,
us.
that's why it has to widen on this side. And where's his driveway? right there. And these are the 2 trees.
Is this it? Here?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
This tree.
I didn't see
Does
where
that
you were
have to-
pointing.
Bigger diameter?
And
No, further down.
therefore, what do you conclude from
Yep.
that?
No, not like a little.
I see.
This is also not the right map, but I'm just trying to give people a rough indication.
Is that
I
my-
see now.
Yes,
is that
that's
my
your
house
house.
there?
Yes.
Right.
You could
So
still
they're
do
gonna
the
have
work,
to take off a whole.
because I'm
chunk
trying
of
to,
my
could you still do
property
the work?
here.
Josh, do you want us to show this to them?
Because that's what I'm trying to
I think
figure out.
we wanted to, but then the concern was.
So that, just, you know, the driveway's right here.
Yeah.
And they're widening it so that this, because of this left turn lane, so that you can, so that's the spot. It's literally right at the start.
So my whole thing is that you don't have to take those 2 trees on the other side of my driveway. You don't have to take those down. The corner of my property, well, that's for us to settle with the town in terms of how much of my property they're gonna take.
There is no taking for your property,
Well, it's gonna impact my property.
but that's not a
That
taking.
corner, that
That-
corner that they're gonna be taking the.
I don't want to get too far afield, but
Yeah.
that's town property.
Well, it is and it isn't, if you
Well-
look at it,
No, it's not. So
yeah.
let's,
It
let's talk about the
doesn't involve
trees.
a taking, in my view.
Okay, but it's not a taking. So let's talk about the trees. I'm very sympathetic, obviously. That's why we could just put our foot down and say, no, we're doing it. Those are the town trees. I understand that they benefit your property. Those are town trees. We have not just said, I'm sorry, we're gonna do it. We're thinking about this. We're looking at it. I don't think we need to make a decision today. And and now we have that, but I think we need to, I would like to think about this more. And hopefully not do it at 10 o'clock at night another time.
No, I wouldn't even ask that of you. I mean, but what I think you have to, from my standpoint, it's gonna involve unless we can work something out, it's gonna involve some litigation with the town. And I don't
Okay,
wanna
you've
do
already-
that, and I know the town doesn't.
So you've already threatened that. Those are,
Yeah.
those are not your trees. I understand you're upset. Those are town
Of
trees.
course, I would be upset,
No,
anybody would be, you'd be upset.
I'm-
Sure you
He's
would.
agreeing.
Your
I'm agreeing with
property,
you.
Of course you'd be upset.
Sir, I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
These are not your trees. They are town trees. If you want to sue, it does not help to sue. I'm sorry, it does not help to threaten to sue.
I'm a lawyer, I know what I'm
You're-
talking about.
I am also a lawyer.
Right.
We do not like to threaten to sue without grounds, and I don't think it's helpful. But I'm telling you that I'm willing to think about this more, talk with you about a way to make you either comfortable with this or see what our engineering is, so we have a better grip on what's going on here.
You know, I'm not, as you are and as I am, I want to be reasonable. But, you know, the 2 trees on the other side of my driveway, that's too much. I mean, I can argue about the corner of the property, you and I can argue about it. The 2 trees on the either side of my property.
Okay, no, I understand. I'm telling you, I'm okay. We don't need to do this tonight. I think that we can talk more. You can talk to us further, but I don't see a reason. If we don't need to make a decision tonight on those 2 trees, I think we can table those at least.
I think I would, for the board's benefit, like to get you that plan in PDF, because it does have the red circle around the trees that we're looking at. Probably a little
Great.
better resolution for you,
Sure, we'll
other than
take
my
a
8.5
walk
by
by the
11,
trees.
so.
But you know that we're not meeting for a month. Is that an issue?
May 4th is the next meeting, and it is a slight issue if you decide to uphold and not allow the removal. It will require redesign of that entryway, which will have a drastic impact on the timing.
For those 2 trees or all 6?
Because
we're only
well,
talking about 2, right? Where can
Or would
we?
it help if we approve 4
If
of
we
them?
approve the 4 and then leave the, or does that still?
Either the widening has to happen on that north side or the south side. It can't be one and the other.
Okay.
So that's why it all
Got
was
put
pushed
together.
north. Yeah.
We're all
Okay.
familiar with the hill on the south
Yes.
side, so
Yeah.
that's not a great alternative.
And familiar with the timing of the project and
Mhm.
keeping it on track.
So, Lynn, if we waited, if we did some homework between now till the 4th, and we were probably able to talk with Leah too and ask her a few questions,
If-
would that be problematic, or only if we?
yes, they are looking to have everything wrapped up by April 15th-ish, because there's some deadlines for submitting design development documents. So if you're considering continuing it, it would be great if you would consider a special meeting.
Oh, okay.
We haven't had one of those in a while.
No.
The truth is, and I'm sorry to say this, that road is already so close to that tree. You know, I'm obviously was very interested in finding some alternative, but when I saw the photo of the fact that it might only be 3 feet from the current road, and we're widening it there, I can understand why anyone who's a professional feels that they will not survive, or if they do survive, that there'll be a liability where kids are walking to school and cars are driving to school.
You know, bear in mind too that this whole issue of the middle school is, and this is, it brings up a lot of, bad.
All right, so
You know,
we're gonna cut this off. So I personally, I believe the trees are going to have to come down, but being sympathetic, and I understand your passion for these trees, and especially the shade, I agree is important. I think that I would like for you to talk to the engineering team and the tree warden and see if we can come to make you happier. I do think it's going to go down. That may not happen, but that's my goal. And I would like to get more information. So if we can wait, if everyone is comfortable with that, it's been a long night already.
By the way,
We're
we're continuing this to May 4th. You think you can get me out of here a little sooner than that?
So I've already covered this.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
My only concern is I think we have to have a special meeting. There's no way we should, wait a month and potentially put the project in jeopardy. So if we're not going to decide now, and I see that there's reasons to consider taking a break, I think that I would hate for the project to be in jeopardy in any way because we just felt like we wanted to wait a month. And if I'm honest with you, I just don't see how. I mean, I would love to go see it in person, which I'm going to do as soon as possible, but just from looking at that photo, I just don't really see how we're not going to agree with the assessment that we've seen. I'm happy to have a special meeting. It's just going to be time.
Yeah,
But
no.
I don't think it's wise to wait a month.
I agree with that. I'm fine with having a special meeting next week, maybe later in the week. It doesn't have to be long, but I would like there to be some more conversation. And if the board, I'm just the chair, I don't run things, right? I run the meetings, but not the board. If anyone wants to move otherwise, we can vote on it now, but on the 458. But I'm willing to have a brief public meeting next week after there's more conversation. I'm sorry, a brief special meeting.
I'm good with a special meeting.
I know you're going to be very busy next week. but if you're-
No, I think that sounds good. That sounds reasonable.
Okay. All right, do we want to move on the 410 William Street's trees?
Let's do
Elise?
that. Yeah.
Okay. Entertain a motion to, uphold the appeal.
I think it's to approve removal.
I would say to overturn the.
I'll overturn the appeal,
decision.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
entertain a motion to overturn the tree warden's decision on 410 William Street.
Second.
14 and 22-inch white oaks.
Second.
Uh,
Or so
Oh,
moved.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Did you
Yes,
say
it's got to.
420 or 458?
410.
410.
410.
Okay. Anything further? Seeing nothing? All those in favor? And I'll entertain a motion to overturn the tree warden's decision on 410 William Street's 32 and 22-inch white oaks.
So moved. Second.
All right, anything further? Seeing nothing? All those in favor? Okay, and we'll table, we're tabling yours. So if you'd like to wait, we can talk after.
We're gonna have a special meeting.
Okay. Moving on to the Arbor Day proclamation. Lynn, if you want to introduce this?
Well, we
Or
do have the tree
Leah,
warden
actually,
here,
yes,
who usually
right.
brings that forward to you.
Leah, go ahead.
You still have Leah in there?
Leah? Hi, yes. So I just submitted to you guys the annual Arbor Day proclamation that we ask to sign every year. This year, Arbor Day lands on Friday, April 24th. We have our usual program of seedling handouts and some additional programming going on with tree planting and tree defect ID at the adult center. So with the Arbor Day proclamation and the signing, it's a requirement for Tree City USA. I did get confirmation we got that for year 2025, so this would go in with our 2026 application.
Because there's nothing attached.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a, sorry.
Peggy can put the proclamation on the screen. 'cause-
Yes, please, we don't have the date attached.
Yeah, they need the language. So if you go to your email.
It's not sharing. We got it.
No, we need the
You didn't
attachment to
attach
the.
the information, so you have to go to your email, because she sent you
She
as
said.
an attachment, and you attach the email.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
Sure, no, probably that. Find that email.
There it is. You said 20.
I don't know, March 23rd. We're spelling her name wrong. March 23rd.
Oh, that was the third one, there you go. Third email down, if you click the attachment.
Move that out so we can see it.
See it?
I can't read that.
You don't have to read the whole thing, but,
Yeah, I just, I'm looking for the date.
Is it the 24th, April the 24th? Or no?
Yes.
right here.
26. 20.
April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in Long Meadow.
So moved.
Second.
Any further? Seeing nothing? All those in favor? All right, who wants the honors?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.